All right, guys, welcome back to the. Why is that so loud? Hold on. Welcome back to the channel. Let me know how the audio is. It's coming through on my end, like I don't know, it's showing that it's bleeding into the red. I don't know if it's too much. Lower that just a little bit. But welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm 20 seconds early. Uh-oh. MBG, I got Gears of War on PS5 yesterday. Looks and runs amazing. Awesome to hear, man. Sounds good. All right. Yeah, sorry for running a little bit late today. Running a bit behind schedule, but I mean, I'm 20 seconds early, but also an hour late, right? But appreciate you guys bearing with me. Ray, you're saying you're waiting for Delta in the mail today. Yeah, man, I know you've been waiting. Metal Gear Ray, he's been waiting. And yeah, sorry to hear about your wisdom tooth extraction. That sucks, dude. But yeah, I've been there. Like I was telling you, I ate a lot of oatmeal, honestly, when I had my teeth pulled and whatnot. That helped a lot. I found the Spider-Man mod video. I can't believe Sony canceled that, man. Yeah, it makes me wonder if maybe they'll just implement some kind of multiplayer or co-op component to Spider-Man 3, because I saw some videos of that mod as well, and yeah, it. I don't know. It seems like people really like it, you know. Uh, oh, you just had a bowl of oatmeal. Thanks, my recommendation. Good stuff, man. Yeah, it sucks. Getting wisdom teeth pulled is horrible. I remember when I had mine pulled, I had to get my wisdom teeth on the top of both sides pulled last year, and on the right side, they told me, like after the procedure, they're like, "Yeah, we had a hard time with that one. You might feel more pain." And man, I had like this just deep, deep pain in my gum, I guess, back there, that it was hard. It's hard to explain. Like the pain radiated all the way up to my head. If you like poked my head, it hurt real bad. It was crazy. But it went away and it healed. So yeah, hopefully hopefully you don't have to experience anything like that, right? It sucks. And we have Corey the Legend Landiga. He was waiting. He was waiting. He's like, "Where's boss?" He drops 5 memberships for you guys. Yeah, I just saw that. There's a Lost Soul Aside demo. Who's going to try that out? I'm going to have to try it out. He says it's for the boss. Corey, thank you so much, man. Yeah, appreciate all the support you guys continue to show the channel. Today we're talking about another leak regarding the PlayStation Handheld. Another leak. And this one is very significant because we're getting like pretty much almost all of the information. And the thing about it to me is it seems pretty clear that Sony is going after at least some of the Switch 2's market share. This PlayStation Handheld is seemingly going to be taking on the Switch a little bit more so than I originally thought. And it's apparently going to be launching alongside the PlayStation 6. So Sony's going to give you 2 options at the launch of the PlayStation 6, but there's one major question that people have, and that is, so like, is this a PlayStation 6S situation like we saw with the Xbox Series S? And it seems that's not the case, and we will explain why. You good? Sony's gonna stomp Xbox and Nintendo simultaneously. I don't know about that one. Maybe Xbox, yeah. But oh my God, Prince, Jesus. But okay. All right, you know what, Corey, I'm gonna give boss a little advance because I can't do this. You drop 5 member gifts. I give him just a small little Just so he'll leave me alone. Oh my god, dude. Like, he's relentless. He's crazy. Ray says he's fine. He's got his doctor's appointment tomorrow morning. High amounts of RAM will be very important in the near future. Is that an actual quote from Mark Cerny? I mean, you put it in quotes. It looks legit. He probably did say that. Sounds like it's a PS5 handheld that came out, unfortunately, in the PS6 generation. Well, I think that what we're going to go over today. Oh, Moore's Law said that. Okay. What we're going to go over today, I think it really paints a much clearer picture of what Sony's going to be doing in the future and how they're going to be approaching the next generation. We've been talking about this for a long time, and the source that we're referring to today is Moore's Law is dead once again, and he clearly has very good sources behind the scenes at AMD and people familiar with Sony's plans. It's really, I don't know, I've seen a lot of people react to Moore's Law is dead like he has no idea what he's talking about. I'm like, dude, Sony literally tried to sue him. So it's kind of weird. I don't know. It's kind of weird to me that people, like, you can see that happen and people are like, nah, it is what it is. But the most important thing that we're going to be covering, I think, with this leak today is the fact that, because you might be thinking to yourself, didn't we just recently cover this already? Didn't we talk about a PlayStation handheld leak and, Project Orion, which was the APU for the PlayStation 6 that leaked? We did. But the big caveat when we were talking about those leaked specifications and that information and that documentation is that it was 2023. Yeah, Wes already knows. It was 2023. And so because of that, we had to take it with a big grain of salt, where it's like a lot could have changed since 2023, right? A lot has changed. But the good news is we have the updated leaked documents. We have apparently documentation that is as recent as just a few days ago. And so what that means is what we are hearing is this is what Sony's doing. They are locked in. It's already in the process. The parts are moving. The train is almost full speed ahead, I guess you could say. And I think that makes what we're going to go over today much more important and much more relevant to, trying to understand the bigger picture. Corey's got to get his coffee. He's got to refill. Yeah, I got mine, bro. And we're also going to talk a little bit about Project Gummy Bears, because apparently there is another insider report that is claiming this game is going to be starting internal testing very soon, or alpha testing very soon. Lady Gamer, you have to go to the doctor's tomorrow as well. You and Ray both have to go to the doctor. So we'll see how long the stream goes today. I don't know. I might keep it on the shorter side. We've been going really long with the streams lately, and to be honest, like, we are truly in the dog days of summer and gaming and YouTube, where games are coming out, people are playing games, and everybody's kind of waiting to see what's going to happen in September. Bro, did you not get enough? Keep it 4 hours. I don't think we're going to be keeping it 4 hours. You're at work. I'm sorry, Prince. I'll try. I'll do my best. I'll do my best. New Woke of Wokai gameplay. Oh my god. Woke of Wokai, not even Ghost of Woke. Wokai. Woke of Wokai, bro. Oh my god. New Wokai Wokey gameplay, bro. Didn't you hear? Yeah, I think I've been doing that as well. It's not Canis. Canis. It's Canis. Yeah, I've been making that mistake as well. I've been saying Canis. I just want to say it that way, like penis. Yeah. All right, so let's dive into this leak, shall we? Oh, by the way, just an update for Metal Gear. They did release a patch, at least for Steam, that fixes a couple of issues, but performance fixes, for those who are like wondering, like now today the game released, are we getting actual performance patches and performance fixes? Not yet. They're saying stay tuned for that, so they weren't able to get it done in time. All right. So looking at the PlayStation Handheld, well, I'll read the article from WCCF Tech. It says the PlayStation 6 handheld specifications have leaked online, suggesting the yet to be announced handheld should comfortably outperform the Xbox ROG Ally X and even the base PlayStation 5 in certain scenarios. In a new video shared yesterday on YouTube, Moore's Law is Dead, who has recently proved to be quite reliable regarding PlayStation leaks, revealed some new information on the portable system, which has been obtained via up-to-date documentation. The handheld will be powered by the Canis APU, a monolithic 135mm square die manufactured on a TSMC 3nm node featuring 4 Zen 6 CPU cores and 2 Zen 6 low power cores that will run the operating system and all non-gaming tasks with 4 megabytes of L3 for the Zen 6C CCX, a 16 compute unit RDNA 5 GPU clocked at around 1.20 gigahertz in handheld mode and around 1.65 gigahertz in docked mode, and a 192-bit LPDDR5X 8533 memory controller with support to up to 48 gigabytes of RAM. Rounding up the features of the handheld are backwards compatibility with PS5 and PS4 games, a micro SD slot, M.2 slot, haptic feedback support, dual microphones, and a touch screen. It says there is no solid information regarding how much RAM the PlayStation 6 handheld will feature, but it is expected to feature more than 16 gigabytes or even 24 gigabytes. Asked to comment on the matter, some unspecified developers unanimously agreed that the amounts above would not be enough to run next-generation games with AI features, as even features like Unreal Engine 5's Nanite require a lot of RAM to work properly. As such, these developers believe that anything between 24 and 36 gigabytes of RAM is required to run next-generation games. With these leaked specifications seemingly revealed, Moore's Law is Dead also made some performance estimations for the unrevealed PlayStation 6 handheld. Rasterization performance is expected to be between 0.55 and 0.75 times that of the PlayStation 5 in docked mode, while ray tracing performance is between 1.3 and 2.6, which would bring the handheld close to the ray tracing performance of the PlayStation 5 Pro at its peak. Factoring in AMD FSR4 support, the handheld should be able to run patched games at around the PlayStation level of performance and at power saver mode level with unpatched games. With the faster RDNA 5 compute units, which are between 40% and 50% faster than RDNA 3.5 compute units and 60% more bandwidth, the system should also comfortably outperform the Xbox ROG Ally X. With these specs on hand, Moore's Law is Dead also made some estimations on how much the PlayStation 6 handheld should cost to produce and its final price, which is estimated to be between $399 and $499 based on the better yields of the TSMC 3nm node, the cost of RAM compared to previous generations, and the fact that Sony seems to always launch hardware at a loss. Although if the estimated cost is correct, Sony would be able to take a small profit even at $399. So the final thing here is that Moore's Law is Dead, based on this documentation, seems to make it clear that this is scheduled for a fall 2027 release, which is going to, coincide with the PlayStation 6 home console. So I know that that was a lot to take in, a lot of tech talk there, a lot of specifications, but, to kind of approach this more broadly, I think the single most, well, not single, there are quite a few things here that are revealing, but the things that really stand out to me, number one, you will be able to dock it. That is new information. That seems to indicate that Sony is directly going after Nintendo, specifically the Switch 2. previously it sounded like you were maybe going to be able to like connect it if you want using a wire or whatever, but this almost sounds like if you buy this, you will be able to buy an actual dock with. I mean, that's the word, that's the terminology that is being used. You will be able to dock it. And when you dock it, you will get a performance increase. It seems like we're going to be getting the PlayStation version of the Switch. That seems to be what Sony's doing with the PlayStation 6 handheld. The second thing is the pricing of this handheld. According to Moore's Law is Dead, now he doesn't, this is not in the documentation, to be clear. He is using estimates. He's looking at how much it costs to manufacture components, the components that are going to be used in this, and trying to come to some kind of reasonable estimate of where this thing is going to land. And he firmly believes it's going to land somewhere between $400 and $500. I don't know that I believe that. I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's going to be that cheap. But at the same time, if Sony wants to actually make it competitive to something like the Switch 2, they're going to have to make it that affordable. It's just hard to imagine that right now, considering we just saw a price increase for the PS5. And he does make it clear that things, who knows what's going to happen with the trade war, right? And we have Lux here with a super chat saying, to be fair, I expected it to dock most modern handhelds do. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't. I guess what kind of caught me off guard is I imagine you would have been able to like hook it up to your TV or whatever and play it that way. But I didn't expect it to like dock and then get an performance increase. That to me, I don't know if I can necessarily call it a game changer, but it definitely changes at least my view of this handheld, where it's like, yeah, I think Sony's going to position this PlayStation 6 handheld as you can just buy this and that's it. Like you can just use this. You don't need to buy this and the home console. But if you want the premium experience, like, I don't know, man, it's really fascinating. It's just fascinating in general that Sony's doing a proper handheld. It's been so long since they've done that and so much has changed. But, we're looking at a PlayStation 6 handheld that's going to launch the same day as the PS6 or in the same launch window as the PlayStation 6. I'm assuming it'll be the same day. If they're targeting holiday 2027, that's got to be same day, right? It's apparently going to be between $400 and $500. You're going to be able to dock it. And when it comes to the performance of this handheld, basically everything that we're hearing and everything that's leaking, it's going to be able to run PS5 games. If you are running it if you're just running it in handheld mode, apparently it's going to run PS5 games with some significant compromises. It's going to run the games in basically like the low performance mode or the low power mode. If you have it docked, and this is the most interesting part to me, apparently if you have this handheld docked, you can expect to hit base PS5 levels of performance. This might be the most surprising aspect of this because it's like, you have to ask yourself, well, if this is a PlayStation 6 handheld, but it's going in its docked mode to do base PS5 levels of performance, what's going on here? How is it going to run PS6 games? And I think I know the answer to this. We have Steven Nearly with a $2 chat saying PlayStation took out Xbox and Nintendo's next on the list. I don't know that Sony's going to take out Nintendo, but I do think that Sony want a piece of the pie. That's what I think. I think that Sony sees that the Switch 2 is going to crush. It is crushing. The Switch 1 crushed. And there's an audience that want a device like this, that, they want a handheld hybrid that can be docked, that can be used on the go, and that can play modern games. Even with major compromises, it's clear people will still accept that. So I think Sony recognizes that. You're saying Sony won't be able to come close to the Switch 2? Well, yeah, the exclusivity thing is the big thing too, right? Like, no matter what Sony decides to do, as long as Sony doesn't go back to true exclusivity, Nintendo will have that. I think Sony accepts that. I don't think Sony's trying to overtake. When I say Sony's going after the Nintendo Switch 2, I just mean they're going in that direction. I don't think that Sony's going to sell more units of this PlayStation handheld unit than the Switch 2. I don't. I just think the idea is if Nintendo has like 120 million Switch 2 buyers, and Sony offers a similar product, if they could get like 1/3 of those people, I think they'll be pretty damn excited about that. And let's face it, I think a lot of those people who are buying Switches would buy a handheld PlayStation. Potentially, anyway. But the big question is, okay, so what's going on with the idea that this is going to output in docked mode? This is going to output at base PS5 levels, but it's going to be a PS6 device. Like, it's going to launch alongside the PS6 home console. What is that? How's that going to work? Well, this calls into question if Sony's going to take, the approach that Microsoft did with the Xbox Series S, right? Obviously, most people don't want to see that. And I'm seeing a lot of misinformation beginning to flow from this Moore's Law is Dead leak that I'm trying to tamp down, and I'm trying to make it known that people misheard or misunderstood what Moore's Law is Dead said. People are walking away from this leak but thinking that it was leaked that Sony is making a PS6S. There's going to be a PS6 home console, a PS6S home console, and a PS6 handheld. That's not what's in the documentation. Moore's Law is Dead simply claimed, he speculated that he thinks Sony could and should do a PS6S with, while utilizing the Canis APU, the handheld APU. But on the documentation, there's only Project Orion, the home console, the premium home console, and Canis, which is the handheld. We have Raven X0 with a super chat, and he says this could be huge in Japan since the Switch is very popular there in other countries due to portability hybrid. Yeah. I mean, there's no denying that the PS5 is not doing anything in Japan at this point, and the PS6 probably won't do anything. This could be Sony's answer for the Japanese market, for their home territory. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. I think you're right. Yeah, that could be a major part of what they're trying to achieve here. Lost Soul aside, Shadow dropped the demo. I thought it wasn't available till tomorrow. Steven. Canis by itself is an Xbox Series S. Well, MBG, if you want to enter a market, you'd forcibly be competing against Nintendo since your portable machine is put next to Nintendo's console bracket. You're trying to attract consumers' attention. And Lux with a super chat says, with Microsoft putting an Xbox sticker on ROGs, wouldn't they just slap a sticker on whatever handheld is launching in 2027-28 with the newest specs licensing? Yeah, that's the thing with Microsoft basically being so willing and okay to just license the Xbox branding out. I mean, I bet you if Sony asked if they could make a PlayStation Xbox, Microsoft would be like, hell yeah. Xbox clearly is Microsoft's taking an approach where they'll just give it to anybody. At least that's what it seems like. And yeah, I do expect that. I think Moore's Law is Dead was trying to take the competitive angle with his video, talking, bringing up the ROG Ally. I'll be honest, I'm not worried about the ROG Ally X. It's like whatever. Like it's going to be expensive. It's going to be kind of powerful or pretty powerful, I guess, for a handheld. I don't know. It just seems like another handheld to me. The PlayStation side to me it seems like it's not just going to be another handheld. And the reason for that is because I think Sony has a very specific strategy with this handheld. I could be wrong. Maybe it will just be another handheld and it'll just be mixed in with all the others. But we know that there's like a Steam Deck 2 coming. I think it just came out that's coming in 2028. I just want to know, I want to know Sony's, what their real strategy is here. Is this just, are they really trying to do big things? Are they really trying to disrupt Nintendo and other, I don't even know that I could say other handhelds, because let's face it, other handhelds are nowhere near where Nintendo is. I guess what I'm trying to say is I think PlayStation is the only one that has any, and I'm not saying they will, I could see them failing, but I think they're the only one that has any chance at all of taking on Nintendo in this hybrid handheld space. And I wonder if that's Sony's view of it, right? Where it's let's just make a PlayStation Switch, basically. Like let's make our own version and just see what happens. And let's make it competitive pricing wise with the Switch 2. Now, the most interesting thing about this is because it's going to be releasing later than the Switch 2. If it's true that Sony can lock down a $400 to $500 price point and it's going to perform better than the Switch 2, I mean, this is where, no matter what, Nintendo will have exclusives, but this could just be Sony's way of trying to make sure that if you don't care about the exclusives or like, if you're thinking about buying a Switch 2 and making it your go-to, we're going to offer something that's going to make you rethink that, where it's like you could still buy the Switch 2 for exclusives, but if you want third-party games on the go and that can be docked, that can run better and perform better, we're gonna offer that. We're gonna have that. But I don't know. We're going based off of leaked documentation, but I do feel like this leaked documentation tells us quite a bit. I do, honestly. So let me try to answer this question. Is this PlayStation 6 handheld going to hold back the PlayStation 6 home console? The answer to that is very simple. I've been seeing a lot of people asking that question or assuming that. The answer is no. And the reason for that is because the PlayStation 5 is going to hold back the PlayStation 6, not the handheld. The PlayStation 5 is going to hold it back. And I think Sony knows that. I think every developer knows that. I think everybody is well aware that if we're looking at the PS4 still being supported 5 years into a 7-year generation, then it's safe to say that the PS5 is going to be supported throughout the entire PS6 generation. The PS5 is the PS6S, not the handheld. Now, the handheld, again, in dock mode, will basically match the PS5. But the thing it will offer that the base PS5 will not is portability. Do you see where I'm getting at here? So you may ask yourself, well, what does this mean for the home console, the PS6? Does this mean it's not going to get taken advantage of? Does this mean everything's going to be held back? And the reality, honestly, is that you're probably not going to see developers making PS6 only games. You're probably not even going to see Sony doing it. Like, look, I don't want to guarantee anything. I don't know, but I have this really strong feeling that actually, not even a strong feeling. I actually feel confident saying it's a guarantee at this point. When we see the PlayStation 6 reveal event and any game that comes, that's announced, those games from their studios are going to work on this PS6 handheld. Guaranteed. Absolutely, they're going to work on it. So when we ask ourselves, like, does this mean that these games are going to be... But yes, and the reason being is because they're also going to release on PS5. Does it mean that the PS6 won't uplift them and they won't take advantage of the PS6 features? Absolutely not. Of course they will. But the days of developers taking advantage of one piece of one piece of hardware for, a console generation and just taking it to the absolute limit, that's over, at least for PlayStation and Xbox. Nintendo, maybe, but what are the upper limits of the Switch 2? I'm not sure. I don't think they go that high, right? We've hit the wall, people. We have hit the wall. And it doesn't mean that there won't be improvements. It just means that it's just not going to go the way it once did. You're not going to see developers be like, we're done with the PS5. You're not going to see that. I see people telling me that it was announced Ghost of Yotei went gold. They say here on a post, Ghost of Yotei has officially gone gold. We're so excited to finally have reached this milestone and can't wait for everyone to experience the beauty of Izo on, October 2nd. Good shit. I'll be there. The fuck is there an ad playing? What the fuck is playing right now? Oh, it's a fucking it's a video clip that somebody put as a response. I was like, what is playing? What is coming through the speakers? We have 2 super chats, one from Josh Z. Oh, hold on. I fell behind here. Josh Z says, this is how bad Sony has fallen in Japan. They lost second place to the original Switch for July. That's truly awful. I saw that. Yeah, man. I think Sony has to do this, at least if they want to reclaim any territory in Japan, any market share in Japan. It's just not a good look if they completely give up and abandon Japan, even if it's going as bad as it is for them. I just feel like they can't just give that up. It's a weird thing. You know, I know that the US is their most important region, but still, man, it's your home territory. You can't just walk away from it. And Lux has been using a Steam Deck since last year, and it has me choosing to play handheld, more so with the GeForce Now app added. Playing on 5080 handheld, dude, that technology, right? 2025, we're in the future. The future's now. That is crazy. That is crazy to think. I've heard really good things about GeForce Now. This is interesting, MBG. I think you're wrong. I think it means we'll have less cross-gen games because people will upgrade from their PS4 to PS5. That if they don't want... Well, hold on. I think there's a little bit of confusion of what I'm saying. Either that or I'm misunderstanding the message here. When I say cross-gen, I'm actually talking about cross-gen between PlayStation 6 and 5. Like, I guess to be clear, I feel confident in saying that when the PS6 generation kicks off, PS4 support will be not completely over. Like, you will still see some developers support, but I think generally speaking, it's like, okay, now we're moving. Now cross-gen means PS5 and PS6. Cross-gen now means PS4 and PS5. That's going to, I think, get X'd out and be replaced with cross-gen means PS5 and PS6. That's my guess. And so when I say that every game is going to be cross-gen, basically what I'm saying is that every game that Sony announces, every game that a third party announces, there's going to be a PS5 and a PS6 version. You're not going to see PS6 only games. You're not going to see that. I'm telling you, I feel confident in saying that. I'm fairly certain this is the direction that Sony's going in. And everything we see gives us that, that kind of, I guess you could say, I was going to say assurance, but for some people, they don't want to see it go in this direction. But just everything is pointing in that direction based off of everything Sony's doing. And now we have leaked documentation, We have leaked documentation basically telling us that, listen, Sony's going to put out a console that is going to be a portable, and you can hook it up and dock it, and when you do, it'll be basically a PS5. Now, again, going back to the question, does this mean that Sony is effectively going to have a PS6S situation on their hands? Yes and no. Yes, because like I just said a moment ago, Sony is not going to have to request developers to make PS5 versions of games. That is the most important thing that we need to understand. The big problem with the Series S is that there was a mandate. Microsoft said going into this generation, if you want to ship a game on Xbox, you need to have a Series S version. It is required. Okay, so that's how Microsoft approached this generation. And the problem with that is, there's a couple of problems with that. The biggest is that, some developers have had some struggles. And if that mandate wasn't there, I think it's obvious that they would have said, we're just going to target the Series X. So if you're worried that that's going to happen with this new device, here's the difference. The difference is Sony's not going to have to tell developers, you need to make a PS6 portable version of your game. You have to do that to ship a game on PlayStation 6. I don't think they're going to do that. And the reason I don't think they're going to do that is because they won't need to do that. Because if you are a developer, you see the PlayStation 6, it's going to be very powerful, very capable, and you can do a lot with it. The PS5 is going to be sitting right there with probably, by the time the PS6 comes out, well over 100 million units sold. And then in between that, you're going to have this handheld device that, again, will basically be PS5 levels of performance. So if you're a developer, you're going to have to make a choice. Either I'm going to make my game and just target the PlayStation 6 home console. If you do that, you're foregoing a 100 million plus PS5 install base, and you're foregoing anybody who's going to buy the PlayStation 6 handheld. And you're going to basically be reduced to just those who buy the PlayStation 6 home console. I don't want to say that there won't be a single developer who chooses to do that, but what I want to say is that you're going to see almost no developers doing that. Because the difference between the PlayStation 6 and the PlayStation 5 is not going to be, frankly, as substantial as what we saw between the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. If you want to know what's been holding back gaming for the last 5 to 6 years, it's not even the Series S. I mean, in some rare instances it can be if they're going next gen only, but really what's been holding back this generation are those Jaguar CPU cores in the PS4 that developers, when making games, are still targeting Jaguar CPU cores, bro. Like, you're talking about CPU cores coming out of like 2012 and 2013. So really what you're going to see are developers excited to move on from that. And, let's just face it, man. Jaguar. Let's just face it. You're going to see developers be much more okay with supporting cross-gen for PS5 and PS6 than even what we saw with PS4 and PS5. PS4 and PS5, I mean, let's face it. If you look at something like God of War Ragnarok, I mean, like, are we really going to sit here and believe that Demon's Souls couldn't run on a PS4? Of course it could. Demon's Souls was purposely not put on PS4 because they wanted it to sell PS5s at the launch. Demon's Souls Demon's Souls is a fucking PS3 game. Of course it could run on PS4. It's just, I have a really, really strong feeling that this is the direction Sony's going in. And it's going to be really interesting to see how people react to it. Lux, you're saying, do you see the PlayStation handheld destroying Switch 2 records? No. No, what I think Sony's going to do is take a dual approach. And I think Sony is afraid. Understandably so, they should be. I think they're nervous, not afraid, but nervous. I think they're nervous that they're going to have a hard time keeping pace with the PS4 and PS5, sales-wise. The PS6 is going to be a much tougher sell. I've talked to you guys about this extensively. I talked to you guys about how the PS6 is not going to have as much hype around it as the PS5 did or the PS4. It's not to say that it won't sell well at launch. I think it will sell well at launch. You'll get the enthusiasts, the hardcore fans. They'll generate excitement, but are we going to see people take up the PlayStation 6 as rapidly as they did the PS4, as rapidly as they did the PS5? I think it's safe to say no. Especially if it's coming in at like $600 or something. So what's Sony's solution to that? Where it's like, well, how do we offset that and mitigate that? Is there anything we can do to change that outcome? And I think this is what they're doing. They're like, let's offer a PlayStation hybrid. It will technically be next gen, but it's the novelty. If not the novelty, just the excitement of we're doing what Nintendo's doing now. We're doing what we have always done, which is here's your base home console. It's going to be premium, just like you got with the PS5, just like you got the PS5 Pro, PS4 Pro, PS4, so on and so forth. But we're coming back to the handheld space, and it's going to be, the whole thing. We're doing the whole thing. We're not half-assing it. It's not going to be like a Portal. Not to say that the Portal's half-assed, but you know what I mean. And I think that, I just think that tells you what Sony's, like the fact that this handheld exists and is going to launch alongside the PlayStation 6 should tell you what Sony's expecting for the next generation. It should tell you how things are going to go down. It should give you some inclination. The whole enchilada, there you go. It should give you some idea, right? It answers quite a few questions, I think. Again, I've been speculating that Sony's going to go crazy with cross-gen because it's not just going to be Sony. Sony's not going to have to go to a developer and say, listen, if you want to ship this game on the PlayStation 6, you're going to have to make sure you're targeting the PlayStation 6 handheld. You understand? So you want me to basically make a PS5 version? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Make a PS5 version when you make the PS6 version, and then we'll have both versions. Sony's literally not going to have to do that because the developer's already going to decide. I mean, we can easily take advantage of all the PlayStation 6 features and like scale it up and still have a PS5 version, no problem. Like, in other words, there's really no reason for us not to make a PS5 version. So if you factor that in, and there's going to be a PlayStation 6 handheld that matches the base PS5 power, then you just effectively already made a PlayStation handheld version of your game. Listen, there's one important thing I need to mention here, and this is not mentioned in the leaks. Moore's Law is Dead does not talk about this as far as I'm aware. I don't recall him mentioning it in his video. We do not know if Sony is going to mandate developers to make PlayStation 6 handheld versions of their games. We don't have the answer to that question. To be clear, I am speculating right now that they're not going to require that. They're not going to ask developers to do that. They're not going to force them to do that. And again, I think they're not going to do that because they won't need to. It will create unnecessary backlash. People will get upset unnecessarily. And I think what Sony will do, basically what they will do is if there are any and I think it will be rare, if there are instances where, hey, let's just say, I don't know, what developer do you think would be most likely to make a PS6 only game? Like, I'm trying to think to myself right now. What publisher would say we're not going to make a PS5 version? We're just going to make a PS6 version. There's got to be one, right? See, that's what's funny, Chris, is you're saying Gears of War Reloaded in the settings has a low power mode. It's already happening. Insomniac. Michael, you think Insomniac would? CD Projekt, okay. Okay, I would say Insomniac, but I that's going to be a Sony studio, so they're definitely... These Sony studios are 100% targeting the handheld, to be clear. So let's just say CD Projekt Red. Yeah. Let's say CD Projekt Red, they're making a game and they're like, we're not going to target. Like, we're not targeting the PlayStation 6 handheld because it's too weak and it's going to hold us back. We want to take full advantage of the PS6 hardware and the Xbox Magnus or whatever. In this case, I think the solution because you have to think about people who buy the handheld PlayStation 6. Like, well, what does that mean? I can't play the game now? I think the solution is going to be exactly what we see now. Oh, you're going to stream it. I think that's what you will be offered, is even in dock mode, you will stream it. But again, you have to understand what that requires before you get, because I know people would get mad at that. They're like, why the fuck would I buy a handheld if my only option to play these games is to stream them? How many games are going to require that? There you go. See, horrible example I used then. CD Projekt Red went out of their way to make a Steam Deck specific option for their games. That's what I mean. Like, you're not going to see these games, is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, these games are not going to, I don't think they're going to exist. I think this is the end game, guys. I do. I really think this is the end game. I think that there are going to be PlayStation players who go into the PlayStation 6 event in 2027 thinking Sony's going to come out here and show them Spider-Man 3 or a new Naughty Dog game or, like Bloodborne remake or something, and it's going to be PS6 only, and it's just not. And they're going to be like, wait, what? I think that people are going to wake up to the reality that the PS6 is going to exist. It's going to be a great console. It's probably going to do relatively well, but it's not going to be treated the same way that all the previous consoles have been treated. And the fact that Sony has a hybrid handheld that they are launching next to it tells you that. It tells you that. It confirms that. And I think people are just going to have to ask themselves, because I already see it. I see people say, well, then what the hell's the point of the PS6? That's for you to decide, bro. I'm not Sony's marketing. That's not for me to say. I'm going to buy a PlayStation 6, obviously, and I think plenty of people will. But if you are that person that's going to question, why would I buy a PS6? I think Sony is basically hoping that, well, you know what? We hear you. You don't see a point to this PlayStation 6 console. It's too similar to the PS5. Maybe you bought a PS5 Pro and you really don't see a point to the PS6. What we showed you today, maybe you don't see a big enough difference. You're going to wait. Well, you know what? Before you go, look, we want to offer you one other purchase option. Here's a port. Let's face it, it will be, I think, branded as PlayStation 6, but here's a portable PS5. What do you think about that? And I think Sony's hoping that the PlayStation 5 owner who says, I already have a PS5 or a PS5 Pro, and I'm not excited for the PS6 because I'm not seeing a reason to really upgrade. I don't see a big enough difference. I think Sony's hoping that they can still get you by being like, okay, don't buy the PS6 yet. What about a portable PS5? PS5 on the go, not a portal, native. I think I could see, I'm trying to get in the psyche of different people here. I think for a lot of people, they might go, oh, you know what, though? I did have a PSP back in the day. I did have a Vita back in the day. Maybe I don't see the point to the PS6, but a portable PS5, that sounds pretty sick. And who knows? You might even get PS6 games, technically PS6 games, right? I think this is the approach that Sony's taking, and I think it's a really well thought out approach because I think Sony understands, and I think a lot of people understand, that things are just going to be different with this upcoming generation. You have Microsoft coming out, bowing out. They're coming out basically saying, we're done really competing in the console space. We're going to give you options. It's going to be Windows-based, but that's the direction we're going in. And I think you see a lot of Xbox players that are like, okay, that's fine. We'll go in that direction too. And I think you see Nintendo, they're out here now, and they're like, we're doing what we did with the Switch 1, but better this time in terms of graphics and more third-party support. And I think Sony's in this, peculiar position where it's like, well, you have the PS5 Pro. It's expensive. It's premium. It's, I don't want to say it's competing with it's certainly not competing with all high-end PCs, but for what it's doing, it's pretty fucking good, it's offering a good amount of power and performance for the price it's asking for. So what do you do? And I think Sony understands they need to provide that traditional home console experience, but they need to also have another angle to create just some kind of excitement that people weren't expecting going into the next gen. And I'm not saying that, I think it's easy for people to dismiss it right now because it's just a thought, right? It's just a leak. It's leaked documents. Who gives a shit about a PlayStation handheld Switch, a PlayStation Switch, right? Who cares about that? But I think once it's real and once Sony shows it and it's oh no, we're doing it. I think it's going to I think people are going to change their tune. I do. I think we see it all the time. I think people are going to, and kind of like same thing with the Xbox Magnus. I think a lot of people don't give a shit about it right now. I still think the Xbox Magnus is going to be incredibly niche, but I think more people will be like, oh, that's actually pretty cool or something. Like I do think you're going to see people's tune change a little bit once it becomes real. We have Chicago saying, how can a handheld PlayStation be the same price as the base PS5? Well, that's the point. That's the point, right? Like, this handheld device is not coming for another 2 years, give or take. About 2 years from now. In that time, like, listen, man, I don't know if the PlayStation 5 price is going to continue to go up or if at some point it's going to go down. I think we're going to have to see what happens with the tariff situation. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe Sony just wants to increase the prices. Again, they're trying to sell in volume, so I don't see why they would want to do that. The question, or the answer to your question, is that in 2 years' time, I'm not stressed today. I drank a lot of coffee. In 2 years' time, you're going to see a device come out that's going to be, in a handheld form factor, and Sony's going to say this is basically as powerful as a PS5. It's essentially as powerful as a PS5. Like if it's undocked, it's like 25% less powerful. If it's docked, it's basically a PS5. And the reason they're going to be able to achieve that is because they're using new components. The leaked specifications tell you it's going for a 3 nanometer node. It's going to have a monolithic 135 millimeter square die. They're using RDNA 5 compute units, 16 RDNA 5 compute units in the GPU. And, people are going to say, well, that's not a lot of that's a low amount of compute units, but every a single RDNA 5 compute unit is like 40 or 50% faster than an RDNA 3.5 compute unit. And I think the compute units that are in the PS5 are RDNA 2. So, we are seeing the progression of technology. It's gotten to a point where Sony will be able to essentially offer the same amount of power that they were selling you in a base PS5 in 2020 for $500 in this big ass form factor. They're going to be able to get that into a handheld form factor, offer the, roughly the same amount of performance and power. And because of that, they'll probably be able to hit a similar price point. But the big question we don't have the answer to also is the RAM. We don't know how much RAM it's going to use. I will say that one of the things Moore's Law is Dead highlighted is he talked to multiple developers behind the scenes. And he made it clear, or the developers made it clear, that if this thing is going to run actual next-gen games, it's going to need more RAM. But my question is, what are actual next-gen games? And basically, what the developers will probably tell you is like, oh, anything that's like leveraging AI features and stuff like that. In order to leverage these specific features, you're going to need more RAM. So, it makes you wonder if maybe some of these features can be disabled if you're running it on PS5 or something like that. I don't know. There's still many unknowns. Flatted Fifth with the $2 super chat says, once again, Microsoft a gen ahead in innovation, LOL. Well, I will say, Flatted Fifth, the idea that Microsoft had with the Series S on paper is not a bad one. It never was, simply because it's logical, right? They say we want to sell more units to more people. How do we do that? Make a cheaper console. And that's the big thing that I think the Series S kind of messed up a little bit, is the Series S was focused on a cheaper price point, and in order to achieve that, they had no choice but to compromise on the RAM and, make some significant compromises that ultimately, when you think 4, 5, 6, 7 years down the line this gen, what potential roadblocks could developers face? It's been mostly okay, but there have been some instances, right? We've seen that publicly. But I think the real kicker for Microsoft, because that's the thing, Microsoft is always, they're always like too early, right? Sometimes way too early. And they say timing is everything. The ironic thing here is that if Microsoft did what they did with the Series S, they took a slightly different approach rather than focusing on dropping the price and reducing the price. But they had like this idea of like a more affordable console that can still pack enough power. If they did that going into the next generation, it actually does make a little bit more sense because we have reached that point where it's like, bro, Sony's out here showing you a PS5 Pro, they're showing comparisons, and people are literally making fun of it because they're like, it's the same image. Now, granted, that's not true across the board, but we are reaching that point. We have reached that point. You are going to see major strides and improvement with the next gen consoles and with next gen games. But, you know, people who are going to go in looking, I want to see a night and day difference. I want to see, like, this is next gen. You're not going to see that. And people need to buckle the fuck up for that. You're not going to see that. You're going to see great fucking games. You're going to see great games that are like, oh my God, I need to play this shit day one. That looks incredible. You're not going, like, GTA 6 is coming out this gen, people. This gen. Like next year on the PS5. When you play GTA 6, that's when your mind's going to be blown and you're going to be like, oh my God. Holy shit. And that'll probably be the last time for a very, very, very long time that you experience that. Because when the PlayStation 6 comes out, when the Xbox Magnus comes out, you will see, like I said, you'll see some visual enhancements, some visual improvements. You will see a lot of great things, but you're not going to see that, like, here's a PS3 launch game, here's a PS4 launch game. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to see that anymore. Instead, you're going to see, here's a PS6 or a PS5 launch game, here's a PS6 launch game, and you're going to be like, well, that PS6 launch game looks a lot shinier, bro. And, yeah. You know, and that's the thing. It's just like, this is where we are. What do you think Sony and Microsoft are going to try to sell you on next gen? They're going to be like, they're not going to try to, I don't think they're going to try to sell you on teraflops. I don't think they're going to try to sell you on SSD speeds or innovation in game design based off of an SSD. I think what they're going to sell you on is 4K 120 FPS guaranteed, AI, machine learning, right? Things that are going to definitely enhance certain aspects of games, but fundamentally, it's just like, yeah, AI upscaling, things like that. These things will definitely help sell people the DualSense 2, whatever that's going to feature. You know, like, you're going to smell stuff now, I guess, if you want to smell, you know what Kratos smells like or something? I don't know. Like, fuck, here you go. I don't know if they're going to do something like that, but it's not going to be like, we're going to show you a game that was not possible to make on PS5. That's not what we're going to see. And I think that people need to prepare that. I think most people are prepared for that, but people need to prepare for that. And I assure you, if there is a game that Sony announces that is PS6 only, it's not going to be because, like, they'll market it to you like, oh, this is only possible because of the PS6. No, it's not. They're purposely making it PS6 only so they can sell the PS6. They're going out of the, it's kind of like the Nintendo situation where it's like, Nintendo games can probably run on almost anything. But it doesn't matter because it's like, we're only letting it run here because it's exclusive. I don't think Sony's going to do that. Maybe Bloodborne they'll do it. They'll be like, here's a Bloodborne remake, PS6 only. We don't want to hear none of this shit. We know it can run on PC. We know it can run on PS5. We want to sell the PS6. They could do that. But, oh, yeah, that's a good one. Nobbinser. MBG Fizzant will be PS6 only. That's a good one. Actually, yeah, you could be right. Oh, I don't know. Dude. I don't know what Sony's going to do. But the next generation could be the longest one ever. I really believe that. I think the PS6 generation could be the longest generation we ever see, because look at how long it took to get that PS5 next gen exclusive. Not even exclusive, but just that next gen game from PlayStation Studios. What game was it? Was it Spider-Man 2? For some people, it was Spider-Man 2. Was it, if it wasn't Spider-Man 2, was it Death Stranding 2? What was that, 4 years into the generation? 5 years into the generation? Like, I think with the PS6, you're going to see that, but like double. It's going to be like, we are 7 years into the PS6 generation, and Kojima's Fizzant is finally dropping, and it's the true next-gen game we've been waiting for. And I'm not trying to make it sound bad. I'm just saying that I just think things are going to be very different. We have Stephen Nearly with a super chat, and he says, performance will be night and day, but that's harder to convince on a video. Exactly. I mean, the performance will be uplifted dramatically due to the improvements in not just the CPU and the GPU, but the AI upscaling technology. We're already seeing that. We have a big update coming next year with FSR4 essentially, or PSSR 2.0, whatever you want to call it, basically launching on the PS5 Pro. And we're going to see that. But I just, I mean, you have to ask yourself, like, what is the angle? Because keep in mind, like, marketing is everything with these consoles. I think we all know that. Marketing is everything. These consoles live or die at launch based off of their marketing. And the marketing is everything. It's not just smoke and mirrors. It's the games. It's the features. It's, even the look of the console, right? I mean, I remember Sony was even marketing the box art of the PS5. Here's Miles Morales PS5 game case. And everybody was like, whoa, like, oh my God. And I remember that. And now it's just like, whatever, it's just a PS5 game case. But when that was first revealed, people were falling all over themselves. It's like, it's here, it's happening, it's real. And I think it's going to be I think it's going to be fun. But I'm super excited to see Sony approach the next gen reveal of the PS6 in a very different way than they ever have any of their consoles. And I've been trying to tell people, like, if you look at some of the decisions that Sony's been making the past couple of months, the past couple of years even, they're doing things very differently. They're handling announcements and experimenting with things that they've never done before that is causing waves across the internet in some cases, right? I think it's safe to say we will see a certain level of that. What kind of different way do I mean? I'm basically talking about how they're like, this generation are like, yeah, we're going to PC. Yeah, we're doing live service games. Yes, those live service games are going to go to PC day one. And you know what? Maybe some of them might go to Xbox. Yes, we're going to launch this Lego game on Switch, because why the fuck not? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, yes, we're going to do cross-gen. Yes, Ragnarok could sell a shit ton of PS5s, but we're going to put it on PS4 as well. You just see Sony doing these things that they were never doing before. And I think it's safe to say that you might see some of that, or a lot of it, with the PS6. You might see that exact, not those things specifically, but I think you understand what I'm trying to convey. Like, just people are going to, I think, look at each other and be like, oh, whoa, this is not necessarily what I expected. They're doing things way differently than I originally thought. The games are what matter most. There needs to be a new style, wave, genre, etc. Yeah, I think Sony just has to do what they do best, which is they got to get back to, like, look, man, I don't know when they're going to do a showcase again, but obviously you have to imagine they're going to do a showcase for the PS6 and this handheld or whatever. Like, they got to fucking blow the roof off the place, right? Like, they got to come in going crazy, roundhouse and everybody, with games. Like, oh, if you don't like this game we showed you, don't worry. We got 3 more coming up. And then maybe after that, 2 more. Like, I just want them to get back to that. I think that they're going to need that for the PS6. You could make the argument they don't need that now. The competition isn't as fierce. We're entering the second, or the later stages of the gen. They're just kind of coasting a little bit, taking it easy, focusing on some other things, focusing on their live service efforts. They got Ghost of Yotei coming. You could make the argument, you got GTA 6 coming. You could make the argument that they don't need to necessarily run out, the front door and do this now. But when the PS6 rolls around, when it's real, it feels far away, but it'll be here before we know it. 2 years from now, when we're ramping up to the reveal, Sony puts out the Twitter post saying, join us for the state or the future of gaming part 2 or whatever. When that's real, they're going to have to come out roundhousing. Yeah, Herman ripping off his shirt, doing some kung fu, bro, like going crazy. All right. Well, it's super exciting to me. I have to admit, man, like getting these leaks from Moore's Law is Dead, where they're clearly real leaks. Like these are real documents. And we're beginning to get a much clearer picture and a much clearer focus of what Sony's actually going to do. And I'm excited, man. Like I don't know that I'm going to be on board with everything. I don't know that everything's going to get me excited, but I'm really excited at the idea that Sony is really just going to say, like, fuck it, we're doing some different stuff. Could there be some downsides? Of course. But, there's I think there's always been this kind of fear of like, well, what if Sony gets too far away? And some people already feel that way. I think the PlayStation 6 presents a good opportunity to win a lot of people back. I know that they sold 80 million consoles, but I want to present this to you. All right. We have some data, and I'm not doing this to be negative. I want to be fair. Like I'm always quick to highlight when the PS5 is selling well, when Sony's doing well, but I want to highlight, I think something that indicates things might be slowing down. And this can be a good thing. I honestly think that, because it's like for those people who are like, man, Sony's losing their way, or Sony doesn't care anymore, or this, I think you might be not excited, but this could indicate that they're going to have to start, like, come on, Sony, like you're going to have to get people excited again. You can't just, keep going through the motions, so to speak. We have the NPD report says, after a very good month of USA sales in June 2025, the PS5 slumped in a bit of a stinker in July 2025, registering a 47% decline. I want you to think about that. 47% decline in dollar sales year over year. Remember, this precedes the system's price increase that was announced on August 21st. In other words, this 47% decline is before the price increase. This is important. This is important stuff to highlight. It says this was a rough month for all consoles, to be honest. The Xbox Series, which has been in a downward spiral for several years now, posted another, ready for this? 69% year-over-year loss. Maybe a little bit of a win, actually. 69%, Jesus Christ, that's insane. The original Switch down 52%, but obviously the Switch 2 sound like hotcakes. Says the PS5 is still the second best-selling console of the year, but the Switch 2 is already ahead of it. So, again, I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm just trying to point out that, I saw people were like, oh, one word, GTA 6. Wait till GTA 6 comes out. And obviously, yes, GTA 6 is going to skyrocket the PlayStation 5. Obviously, that's going to happen. But it's like, you can't, like, put GTA 6 aside for a second here. Like, you're seeing that people are, this was before the price increase, dude. Like, I think Sony, I'm not saying they're hitting a wall, but let's face it, I don't think there were not a ton of game launches in July. But I think this is the first real data. We had all this data that shows how well the PS5 is doing, but I think this is the first real data that's showing, I think the PS5 might have peaked. Or, it's going to peak with GTA 6, I think, but GTA 6 is not going to carry the PS5 forever, Like, this is the first real indication, I think, that Sony might have to start, all right, like, your sales have yet to decline at all, but here we go. We have a decline, 47%. Doesn't mean panic. Doesn't mean it's all over. You still sold 80 million units, for fuck's sake. But it's like, and it's normal. You're going to see declines. Sony already said you're going to see this, but I think it might happen a little bit faster now that they've increased the price of the PS5. And I just think they're going to have to start generating a little bit of excitement. I think that's going to be required of them. Chris, you're saying I love y'all, but some people are stuck in the PS3 gen mentality. Yeah, I definitely see some of that too. And I think for some people, it's just going to take a little bit longer. So it's, some people are going to have to die hard, and that's fine. Like Die Hardman, Die Hard console man. Die Hard console man. It's fine. I think that no, even if this is the direction we go in, I think that some people are going to embrace this and only see an upside. I'm not interested in taking that approach. I don't like, you guys know, I don't like to really get too far into either extreme. If this is the direction things are going in, where Sony's, just really opening up and becoming much more multi-platform, and they're not approaching the next generation or the upcoming generation the same way that they did the previous gens. It's going to be very different, and the communication is going to be very different. And Sony may end up communicating that we're kind of like, we want you to buy a PS6, but we're kind of okay if you just buy the handheld or the Pro or something. Like, we know we're not going to move a lot of people from PS5. Like, I'm okay with Sony doing this as long as they maintain some level of priority with it, you know what I mean? And make the games, of course. But I'm not a fan. Like, I don't want to just see that as that's only a good thing, because it's like, well, it might not be. It might not be. If it's just like, oh yeah, well, God, guys don't have to fight about politics. Like, dude, who cares? You guys, like, you have no control over it. Neither do I. It is what it is. I'm probably going to try out the Lost Soul side demo. Do we know how the regional sales of the PS5 are so far? US, Europe, and Australia and Japan. I think Japan, it's really tanked. Europe, I think, is still pretty strong overall, or stronger. Australia, I'm not sure. But what if they make a massive change like they did with the PS5, where they make the PS button a long press instead of a single press? I don't know, Michael. I don't want to think about that. I saw the new Ghost of Yotei trailer, or parts of it, for the firearms. It's looking real good. It's looking real good, man. What's the possibility they discontinue the base PS5, lower the price of the Pro, and continue with the PS6? I think it's actually more likely, pushing polygons, that they would. I could see them discontinuing the base PS5 when the handheld launches, and the handheld will basically replace the PS5. I could see that, where you will have the handheld, the PS5 Pro, and, well, shit, I don't know. That wouldn't make much sense to continue to sell the PS5 Pro. I'm not sure. No, you know what? Maybe Sony will they'll have 4 pieces of hardware, essentially. I think that they'll have. Yeah, you're right. I could see them maybe discontinuing the Pro first. I think that, even though it seems like it doesn't make sense, I think they would actually be more liable to do that. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to approach it. I think for a little while, we could see them just selling all 4 pieces of hardware. I think there will be a time on the market where you will have the base PS5, the PS5 Pro, the PlayStation 6, and the PlayStation 6 Handheld. And I'm just so curious to see Sony market this, man. I'm so curious to see how they talk about it. Like I want to see them do it. I'm like kind of eager, because I want to know if I'm right. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be right. And if I'm not, a lot of other people, I think, are going to be happy that I'm wrong. Because if I'm wrong, that means Sony is going to take a much more traditional approach. And I would be cool with that. I would totally be cool with seeing Sony take a very traditional approach to the next gen, but I'm just understanding of the fact that that's just not I don't think that's possible. Like, I don't want to see them tank. I don't want to see them, like, fuck themselves, basically, because of they're stubborn. And it's like, well, this is what we got to do. Like, this is how we've always done it. We got to do it this way. I understand why people want to see that, but um, I don't know, man. I just kind of look at it as if Sony were to take a completely traditional approach or a much more traditional approach, they are at great risk. Because I see, like, I don't know, man. I see what people say, and sometimes I just wonder, like, it seems like what you're saying is how most people feel, but that could be completely wrong. Like, it turns out you're just listening to some people on the internet, and that's not actually how the masses feel. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a tough one, man. You think it will be more traditional than people are saying? People are always wrong about next gen, and it could, and that would be. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Again, like I said, I'd be all on board for that. I'm trying to have what I believe are appropriate expectations, which is based off of what I see happening in front of me now, and based off of all the information I have at my disposal right now. What do I realistically think is gonna, how do I think this is gonna play out? And like I know it's like, oh, I guess they're not gonna do exclusives at all, but it's like, no, I could see them like having one or two games like they did for the PS5. And they're like, just to be safe, we want to have a couple of offerings that make people feel like this is why I'm going to buy a PS6. I feel like that would be smart. You don't have to keep them permanently exclusive, but kind of like, we look at Ratchet and Clank. Let's face it, Ratchet and Clank, I think, was a system seller. I think that was a game that got hyped up as the next gen game, but it didn't stay on PS5 forever. It made its way to PC, and I think that could work again. I think they could go that route. But yeah, I just think people are gonna, we have to question, like, when you look at Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, the reason why people were calling that next gen is because of the teleportation. Like, oh, look at the speed, and this is only possible on PS5. I'm just not sure what they could show in a PS6 game that, without like basically lying, like what they will be able to show that they'll be able to say this is only possible on PS6. I don't think they can do that. And I think what we're really looking at is if they do a if they do a PlayStation 6 exclusive, it's just going to have to be made clear that it's just for the sake of exclusivity. And what's funny is, like, you'll see people get angry about that, but then you also see the same people be like, well, that's why I got my Switch too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what Sony's approach is going to be. I mean, if I'm trying to, like, really think about it, Spider-Man 3, launch window title, not a PS6 exclusive. We'll have PS6 features, will launch on PS5. Horizon 3, launch window title, will not be PS6 exclusive, will have PS6 exclusive features, will launch on PS5. Bloodborne Remake, PS6 exclusive. And then later on, we'll launch on PC and maybe PS5. Gran Turismo 8, that's a great one. That's one I could see. Like, that is a system seller. Yeah, I could see them actually being like, Gran Turismo 8, PS6 exclusive. That will fucking move units. Yeah, it will. And then later, if they want, we could do PC or whatever, or PS5. I don't know if they'd want to backport, to be honest. I'm not sure that would be a good idea. But then again, it depends on what if the third-party developers are continuing to support PS5, then why not? I'm just saying, like, they could take that approach and get the best of both worlds. In fact, I'm more inclined to think that's exactly what Sony's going to do, just because that's what they've been doing. Sony's been trying to get the best of all worlds, all generations. So why not? Yeah, they did do that, Flatted Fifth, but to be honest, I think they did that because of the shortage. I think GT7 was supposed to be positioned as a major PS5 system seller, and then they were like, holy shit, we literally can't produce these things. These sales are going to tank. Or if not tank, like, they're not going to be nearly as good as they would have been if we just put it on PS4. I think that what might be different this time around is there's not, I'm assuming there won't be a PS6 shortage. So it's like, if Gran Turismo is supposed to be like a system seller game and there is no shortage, you could see the art, but it depends. They might, who knows? They might treat totally opposite direction. They might treat Gran Turismo. Oh, hold on. Let me replay that. We have a direct donation from Venino.
Sony wants to make a ecosystem kinda like Xbox everywhere. So handhelds, streaming, consoles. Will work together. I believe PS launch a front store.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like Sony is beginning to head in that direction. And I think that they're being mostly conservative about it. Like, I think, you see people talking about Sony putting Spider-Man or God of War or something on Xbox. And I understand why those conversations happen, but I just think it's interesting that people think that they'll just do that. Like, just not giving a shit. Like, whatever, bro, here you go, we don't care. Like, that's something they will, like, they're going to really contemplate, like, why would we do this? Should we do this? What's the end game here? What's the end goal? You can easily deduce that with something like Helldivers. Something like God of War, it becomes much more difficult. And I'm only saying this because, again, I'm trying to basically make it clear that Sony will be doing things. They are doing things differently. They will be doing things differently. But I think people are not understanding that the biggest difference between Sony and Microsoft is, yes, Sony's beginning to take some pages out of Microsoft's book because some of what Microsoft is doing makes complete sense. But I'll tell you the thing they're not taking out of their book is Microsoft failed in the console space, dude. And Sony didn't. And people need to understand that. That's not console warring. That is just a fact. And I don't know why that upsets people so much, but it's like, it is what it is, man. Like, Microsoft, they had to, they had to bow out. They did. They tried and they just couldn't make it work. And so everything that Microsoft is doing now, they have like a bit more freedom in a sense where it's like they're not weighed down by their own success in the console market, where it's like, well, we got to worry about losing console sales. Like, no, we don't have to worry about that anymore. We're down 69%, bro. We don't have to worry about that anymore. Sony does. Like, Sony does have to worry about our sales are down 47%. Our year-over-year revenue for this is down 47%. And you know why Sony has to worry about that? Because let's face it, Sony is not in the same position that Microsoft is to just go, oh, you know what? Hey, our hardware tanks, we lose console sales, no big deal. We're mainly a publisher anyway. No, Sony has the PlayStation storefront that's tethered to the console. And yes, they are a publisher, but they're nowhere near as big of a publisher as Microsoft. So I'm just saying that, like, Sony is, again, they're pushing more and more. They're going further with PC, with Xbox, with Switch, with multi-platform. They're doing this. But you better believe they're paying very close attention to how is this impacting everything else. And they did say that. They said console sales is not our number one priority anymore. MAUs are. Now, what do you think? Like, I had this conversation previously. Some people, I think, take that as Sony saying, we don't care anymore. That's not what that means. It just means that basically they see a decline in consoles coming. They see that, like, we can't push the growth anymore. It's not going to be there. They'll try. I'm not saying they're not going to try. Again, it's not them giving up or not caring. It's just they accept that, you know, our main competitor is out now. Switch 2 is going to do its thing. We're going to do our thing and probably sell another 80 to 120 million units. We're not going to walk away from that. You'd be fucking nuts to walk away from that. But we need to now figure out how we're going to grow and position ourselves to continue to grow if, say, 5 to 6 years from now, people really stop buying hardware. Like, it becomes way harder to sell hardware, because that could happen. It's, Sony is not immune to that. Nobody's immune to that. Nintendo's not immune to it. Sony's not immune to it. Microsoft isn't immune to it. And they, I just think if you look at their approach, they're clearly still trying to get the best of all worlds. They're trying to maintain what they have and not disrupt it too much, while positioning themselves to find further growth outside of the console space. And they'll straight up tell you that. That's what the whole focus on MAUs is. That's what the focus is with trying to get movies and TV shows. And it's stuff we've been covering for a long time now. But I don't know. I don't think it's nearly as bad as some people make it sound. I know people are afraid of losing exclusivity and whatnot. Herman told us. You're right. Everything I'm saying, they told us already, bro. Like, Herman told us. Hideaki Nishino told us. I know people are kind of afraid of, like, what's going to happen to PlayStation if they lose exclusives or whatever. A lot of people are like, I'm just done with PlayStation if they get rid of exclusives. And to that I say, then let Sony fuck around and find out. Because I've already given my stance on this. And just to reiterate, if you want my opinion on it, I think Sony will fuck around and it'll be fine. That's what I think. I think there will be a slight loss, but nothing consequential. I think Sony is basically going to be in a similar position to Microsoft, in the sense that Microsoft, if you ask them, why would I buy your hardware? They're going to say, we don't fucking care if you buy our hardware. Like, they won't literally say, obviously they're not going to actually say that to you, but that's what they're pretty much saying. Like, it's there if you want it, bro. Like, we're not going to twist your arm. It's just there. I think Sony's is going to be more along the lines of, we got new hardware, check it out. It's going to be fucking awesome, bro. You're going to want to play this new hardware. You're going to want to play this console. It's going to be amazing. And then I think people are going to ask, like, but why would I do that? And I think Sony's just going to ignore you. I mean that. I think Sony's like I said, man, I really want you to play on my console. And I think it's just going to be Sony's just kind of low key let you know, like, they want you to buy the console, but they're not going to. I think Sony's done twisting your arm. That's what I'm trying to say. I think Sony's done trying to twist your arm. Not completely, but I just think it's like, you look at something like Ghost of Yotei, and you could view that as a twist of the arm, in a sense, right? Where it's like, what if you don't have a PlayStation, but you want to play Ghost of Yotei? That's technically Sony kind of twisting your arm, right? But, Sony's also out here making it clear that it's like, we will put it on PC. What if I'm on Xbox? Well, depends on who you listen to. Right? If you listen to random people on the internet, they'll tell you, it's coming any day now to Xbox. If you listen to PC players, they'll tell you it might be a year, it might be 3 years, give or take. So I guess what I'm saying is, let me walk this back. I'm not saying Sony's done twisting your arm. I guess I'm just saying there are going to be times where they could twist your arm, and you would think they're going to twist your arm, but they're actually not. And I think that's what's going to be different, is previous Sony, the way Sony used to work is they're going to twist your arm every fucking time, and they're not going to let go. That's what's changing, is they're loosening their grip in some cases, and in some instances they're not even going to try. They're just like, it's cool, man. Like, notice how Sony is not using Helldivers to sell consoles. They're not even trying. They're not even trying to use Helldivers to sell consoles. And that's what I mean. It's like to them, it's like, we just need you in this game. Do they want you to buy it on PS5? Yeah. Are they going to, try to force you? No. Now, will they take that approach to their single player games? Who knows? Who knows, dude? All right, let's see where we are here. Ghost of Yotei should be a cross-gen title. Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, because one other thing I want to talk about here, or I want to mention briefly, is one of the things that Moore's Law is Dead states in this documentation, or it's made pretty clear in this documentation, is that Sony really, really, really wants to get people off of PS4. Apparently, one of the biggest things they're going to try to achieve with the PS6 is moving everybody over from PS4. And see, that's what I'm telling you, is that, like, this is why I feel confident in saying, like, the PS5 gen is going to, or the PS6 gen is going to be crazy long, and cross gen is going to be permanent essentially at that point, because they're not even worried about moving PS5 players over. They're worried about moving PS4 players over. So, I think that's why, if anything, that's why they're not doing cross gen anymore with PS4, because they're like, yeah, dude, we need people on, at the bare minimum, we need them on PS5 now. Like, we can't keep supporting the PS4. How many years will it take to get to that point with the PS5? Many. I mean, I see people talking about the idea of Sony bringing the PlayStation Store to PC or something. I don't know what they're going to do exactly in that area. I think people do need to pay attention to the fact that Sony has allowed people to gain access to PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium through the PlayStation Portal. Through the portal, which is off console. So, it's little stuff like that I think is like, they're experimenting a little bit. Just a little bit. I think what they mean is that they want people to jump from PS4 to 6 and just skip PS5. Yeah, actually, Garrett, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah. Which should be interesting. We'll see if they can achieve that. Because there's still quite a few. I mean, you saw the charts, right? Like, at least 1/3 of their player base is still on PS4, bro. Carlos, a member for 8 months, says, MBGM playing MGS Delta on PC. It looks great. I really like the legacy filter, but they need to improve performance. Still the best Kojima game, in my opinion. I'm happy to hear you're enjoying it. Yeah, I won't lie, man. Like, the more I play it, the more I realize, like, okay, I'll be honest, like, I may not have realized when I watched that Digital Foundry video, like, I didn't realize it was that bad. I'll be honest. Like, I thought, it's probably just a couple areas of the game. It's really not that big of a deal. But I'm playing it on the Pro, and I don't want to make it sound like I can't play it, or like it's so bad I'm like I can't enjoy it. It's not that, but it's like I see it, and it can be annoying, like very annoying in some cases. So I really hope Konami gets to work on it, because, yeah, I won't lie, the performance is worse than I thought it was going to be, even after watching that Digital Foundry video. Like, I'm like, oh, well, I probably won't even notice it. And I've been playing it, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of rough. I'll be honest, man, I don't even know how this happens. If you're Konami, I don't understand, dude, where it's like, why didn't you just delay it? I don't understand. Like, I know there's like deadlines and stuff, but it's like, at what point do people just kind of, like, these executives, like, wisen up and realize, like, dude, this is your first real foray back into Metal Gear Solid after the whole Kojima debacle. You can't afford to fuck it up. You just can't. And I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the developers didn't tell them, or maybe I don't know. I don't know. I just think it's a shame. Remember, rumors were confirmed it was only to be 30 FPS. Dude, I would drop it to 30 FPS, like a consistent 30 FPS on my PS5 Pro. The option isn't even there, dude. Did you see someone had Delta at 360p and still ran at 30 frames? What? 360p resolution, still running at 30 frames. It just depresses me, man, because like I'm just tired of things sometimes. Like, I don't mean this sounds so negative, but it just gets exhausting sometimes where it's like, why can't things just be good? Like, I don't know. Maybe I just feel I'm having a little bit of a pity party here because this was like my most anticipated game. And I'm like, there's no way they're going to fuck this up. And I'm not trying to make it sound like you can't enjoy the game or that you can't play it. But it's just like, why? Why? Like, why, Konami? Like, why? I would have waited till January of next year if I had to. I would have cried a little bit and be like, how could you delay it this long? What the fuck happened? But I would have waited and, it would have just been a better outcome. It would have been a better outcome to just not have these problems. I'm just being honest about it. And I will admit, I'll take the L. I think I downplayed I don't know. I was blinded by the nostalgia, man. It happens. And it still happens. I'm still like, there are times I'm like playing the game and I'm just like, still like, I didn't just see that. Like, there are frame drops so bad sometimes, dude, that I'm like it's rough. It's real rough. And I don't know. Like, I'm being totally honest, man. I'm like at a point where I'm like, do I just want to wait to play this? But I can't do that because it's like, well, then why the fuck did you even buy it? Now, granted, I could do it as a tax write-off because I streamed it, and then maybe that's where it's different for me. But like, yeah, there are just some areas of the game, dude, where, like, I notice pretty much like anytime there's like multiple enemies, it's like, holy shit, dude, it's tanking. And the thing is, I can play games at 30 FPS, but when you have the frames just up and down, it creates like a stutter and like a hitching. That's just like, oh, this is, jeez, man. Like some areas of this game feel like I'm struggling to properly, engage with like multiple enemies because it's the frames are dropping that bad. But it's still Metal Gear at heart, and it's one of my favorite games ever. So I'm still getting enjoyment out of it overall, just with some frustration, with more frustration than I honestly would have anticipated. There's a reason why PC players call UE5 Stutter Engine 5, and it's that PCMR most powerful. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, what is the situation with Unreal Engine 5 that it's this bad? Like, I don't understand. If it's this bad, why are developers still using it? I thought Unreal Engine 5 was supposed to be like the future. And by this point in time, it was supposed to be better than ever. And it feels like it's the exact opposite happening. What's up with that? Yeah, I've been seeing people saying that they should have just used the Fox engine. Kind of crazy that they didn't. I really wondered that too, right? Like, bro, Fox engine was incredible and proprietary, Like, it's your own shit. Why did they get rid of it? I don't understand. It's not the engine itself. People just don't know how to optimize for it. But like, how could they not know by this point, though? Like, it's been out for years, It's just very demanding, very memory demanding. Do you think it's just, we're just going to need to get better hardware? Like, we're just still not there somehow? I don't know. I mean, I just look at something like the Decima engine, right? I look at what Guerrilla Games has done with the Decima engine for Horizon and Kojima Productions with Death Stranding, and I'm like, I'm just like, Sony, maybe you should start licensing Decima for open world games and like developers who want to make open world games. Because it's just like, it's a fucking beast. And actually, you can make FPSs. Killzone Shadowfall was made in Decima. MGS 5 looked really good. Yeah. Tim Sweeney, the CEO of Epic, reported on X that Unreal Engine 5, it's the fault of developers. It's not the hardware. Plenty of games run great. It's studios trying to rush games out for money. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I've seen so much chatter about Unreal Engine 5. I really don't know anymore. It's become one of these things where it's like, I'm not sure who to blame. I'm not even sure who the finger's being pointed at this point. I mean, blaming the publishers rushing games, I feel like that's always a pretty, it's a pretty sure bet, you know? All right. Geez, man. It's crazy to think Ghost of Yotei is very close too. I mean, I know that they announced it went gold, but I think it just kind of hit me that we're basically like a month away. That's going to be a good time. Josh, you're saying it's because game development is much more complex than people think. Code can be very difficult, especially due to haste. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It's tough though, because I think like most people, they're like, well, you're asking for the money, right? And I feel like sometimes that's where the developers get caught in the crossfire, where you get publishers with unreasonable deadlines, and the developers are obviously trying their best. And, you know, I feel like MGS may have been a victim of that, where it's like, I'm sure the devs knew. How could they not know? Like, they know. But it's like, maybe they asked to delay it, and Konami was just like, no. And they're just like, we just got to get it where we can. And yeah, this is like a tough one, you know, where it's like, I don't think the developers would have willingly put out the game like this if they knew. Yeah, well, I mean, again, they would know. I think that they would want it to be fully optimized, but I don't know. Like, you know what sucks too is like the Metal Gear Delta multiplayer mode. They said that's coming this fall, and it's clear that like, yeah, that's not ready to go either, right? Like, it seems like it would have been better to have that at launch to help sell it, because, you know, people are like, it's a $70 game. I'm going to play it obviously like when it comes out, but it's just like, now I'm thinking, well, is that going to get delayed even further now? Because now they have to work to optimize the game and get that patched up, and then they're going to simultaneously work. I don't know what they're going to do. I feel a little bit annoyed, you know, and frustrated, because I just feel like everything leading up to it seems so good. You know, there were so many things that could have went wrong, and it feels like everything that could have went wrong, not everything, but a lot of what could have went wrong at the launch, it's like it all kind of started to come undone. It's like, they got the multiplayer. It's not Metal Gear Online. Okay. It's not going to be there at launch. Okay. But don't worry. Still be excited for the game, right? It'll be free download or free updates. Like, okay. It's like, it's going to run like shit on the Pro. It's like, okay. All right. Oh, why? What engine is Sucker Punch using? They're using a proprietary engine. I forget the name of it, but they're using their own. It's got some kind of name. I think they're the only ones who use it. A lot of Sony studios use proprietary engines, which is very cool. Like, I feel like that's like it's not that common these days, you know? I know Naughty Dog uses a proprietary engine. Santa Monica Studio uses a proprietary engine. I'm I mean, you got Decima, obviously. Sucker Punch uses a proprietary engine. I'm sure there's others that use proprietary engines as well, too. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Naughty Dog also had like they had a, I don't know if they still have it or not, but there was like a team under, like they had a dedicated team just focused on technology and engine optimization and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, you would assume they still have that, but I think that was a little bit unique with Naughty Dog, where they just had a whole team dedicated to that. An original engine just makes the game more special, in my opinion. Yeah. Helldivers 2 uses an engine that doesn't exist anymore. I love it. That's so funny, dude. Yeah, when do you think they're going to make the switch to Unreal Engine 5? You personally really like that they're using their own engine? Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Unreal Engine going forward. I mean, even if it is like developers aren't optimizing for it, then maybe that does reveal a problem. Like why is it so difficult to optimize for? What is the problem? How do you make it easier to optimize? With this engine. Oh yeah, Astrobot, Team Asobi probably uses. They use a proprietary engine. Firewalk used Unreal Engine 5. That's ironic. That game was pretty well polished, from what I could tell. So they did a good job with Unreal Engine 5. You hate how every Unreal Engine game looks and feels the same. Are we talking about UE5 and MGS or just games in general on it? We're basically talking about games in general using Unreal Engine 5. Basically. They say that the newest version of Unreal 5 is finally really good. The problem is most teams won't go back and update the version because it's a lot of work. Now, when you say that, Titus, do you mean most teams won't go back and update it? You mean like the game? Or do you mean like their actual entire development environment and pipeline? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm understanding correctly. Like, in order to use the latest version of Unreal Engine 5, they would have to completely overhaul, I guess, their... Okay, so just the entire version of the engine, not just... Okay, because I almost read that as like they don't want to go back to the games that they released and, update it. Well, fuck. Well, that's pretty bad then. If that's true, that's pretty bad because... it sounds like they have to convince devs to move over again, like upgrade your engine again, even though we just asked you to do it a couple years ago. No, I'm not going to react to anything today, Tarnished. Not today. I got something weird going on with my speakers anyway. I'm going to have to figure out. I have to mess with it when I'm done my stream. Saros is Unreal Engine 5? Huh. Why didn't I know that? Let's see here. So I guess the Lost Soul Side demo is out already. Huh. Okay. Damn. Yeah, I'm going to have to try out that Lost Soul Side at some point. Fair Games is using Unreal Engine 5. I know, Garrett. I know. Forgive me. Forgive me. We will get there. Hey, it's good though. We're gonna have a whole batch of content to react to. I've just been having a lot going on. I know I've been saying that, and I know it's probably an excuse people are getting tired of, but there's just so much going on, man. I'm like failing to keep up, to be honest. Garrett just straight up says, "You are not forgiven." It's okay. It's okay. Well, you're just gonna have to accept it, Garrett. All right. You're just gonna have to accept it. I don't know what to tell you, bro. MVP Mall says, "Be a man." Bro's out here straight up telling me to be a man. I'm trying. I'm trying to be a man. Saros says not UE5. It's built on their own proprietary engine. Just asked AI. Oh, okay. I was going to say, like, I feel. Are you sure? Are you sure, though? Now, yeah, I feel like you're right. Garrett says, don't be sorry. Be better. I love that quote, dude. It's one of the best quotes ever. All right. So, do you guys see that Dusk Golem? Oh my god, if this is true, he like destroyed so many people without trying. He crushed their hopes and dreams. He says that Capcom tried to remake Dino Crisis, but eventually shut it down. The leak claims that there have been 2 failed attempts over the years. They could always try again, but as of right now, Dusk Golem has no idea if they're trying again. That's pretty bad. That's crazy. I feel like if you have Capcom, if Capcom tries to remake Dino Crisis twice and it fails internally and they can't do it, maybe it's just not meant to be remade. Because they're like the pros, dude, of remakes. If they can't make it work, I'm just thinking maybe it's not meant to be. You know? Maybe it's just simply not meant to be. That really sucks, though, because there's a lot of Dino Crisis fans who've been waiting. They've been waiting. Let's see. Apparently, there's going to be another Nintendo Direct on September 12th, and this is going to be the big one. I wish I could be like, man, I feel like Nintendo players have been getting so many events. Why can't we just get a fucking rumor in the Gaming Leaks rumor subreddit that's just like Sony's doing a showcase in September and it's going to be the big one. You know what I mean? Like, we just don't get that anymore. Oh yeah, that game Code Violet. They should give it to Bluepoint, a Dino Crisis remake for Bluepoint. This is the event you've been waiting on, Ansel. Flight of Fifth says, I'll go create the rumor, man. Well, September should be interesting. Look, I'm not expecting a showcase. But, you know, Sony usually has a lot going on in September. And according to Jeff Grubb, at the end of September, they have an event. So I guess my question is if we're going to get more details on what this PlayStation event will be. I agree. We deserve a showcase. I mean, like, even if they want to make it a state of play, but it's like as good as a showcase, I'm cool with that too. I just like they got to show a lot, you know. Hold on. Jack's getting the opposite. Jack is saying, according to AI on Google, says Saros is an upcoming third-person action game developed by Housemarque. It is being developed in Unreal Engine 5 and is scheduled for release exclusively on PS5. We're getting mixed results from AI here, bro. One AI saying it's not Unreal Engine 5. It's their own in-house engine. The other one is saying it is Unreal Engine 5. Titus is like, yo, this is bullshit. Let me check Google 2.5 now. He's saying, I'm being honest, this gen hasn't been as good as PS4. I'm hoping the PS6 is better. Well, I think the PS5 generation could be summarized as missed opportunity or wasted potential. Only because there was a lot of good. There still is a lot of good, but there's just no denying that Sony made a behemoth of an investment in live service to a degree that it really hampered the entire management, you know, where, yeah, we still got games like Returnal and Ghost of Yotei and Intergalactic and all that stuff coming, but, you know, and the sequels. But it's just the fact that, like, so many studios that have wasted time and resources on live service, they could have made single player games. And we could be looking at the last 2 or 3 years of the PS5 gen being like, you know, like an overflow of games, basically. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just kind of rough. You look at like Ben Studio and Blue Point, Media Molecule, the fact that Naughty Dog is seemingly only going to get one new game out this gen. It does call into question, like, what the fuck, you know? Like, but see, what's really fascinating to me is we now know how things are lined up, you know? Like, we know all of the studios under Sony that are making live service. They're separated from all the other studios. I do feel like a lot of stuff is going to be, yeah, it's not going to make itself known until the PS6 gen. I do feel that way, but that is the question. Like, how much better is it going to be? Dude, that's crazy, Titus. The AI that you're paying for got it wrong? Ain't no way, dude. AI is wrecking Titus's brain, dude. That's crazy. The AI that I pay for gave me the wrong answer. The free AI gave me the right answer. Well, we don't know. It may be maybe that Google got it wrong. I feel like hold on. Let me see. I'm gonna check the Saros trailer now. I feel like it would have said it, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Scrolling through the trailer.
It always comes back to this.
It didn't say in the trailer. Let me go to their website. Housemarque, Saros. I'm looking now. News. Bro, I can't find it either. What's going on? It can't be this difficult. And Titus comes in with a super chat. Thank you, Titus. He says, good to be back. I need a holiday in my den to get over the holiday we just had. Oh, man. I need a holiday after my holiday, man. Yeah, I feel that. It's crazy out there, man.
Peggy 16.
You know, maybe they never confirmed. Maybe they never confirmed. Your AI says Saros is UE5. That's what I was thinking. They used Unreal Engine on Returnal. Well, if they used Unreal Engine on Returnal, then they have to be using Unreal Engine for this as well. I think that's what I'm going to settle on. It's UE. You're using UE. I have no choice but to settle on that at this point because I doubt that they would have the time. I mean, the Saros reveal, you know, they're going to get, Housemarque's going to get 2 PS5 games out this gen. I don't think they would have had time to make their own proprietary engine. Returnal was UE5. Oh, you think there's a slight chance that they might be... You think there's a slight chance they might be running Saros in UE4? That would be interesting. I guess we'll find out. We will find out. All right. I see. Yeah. So you guys are saying Returnal was UE5. Rebirth ran on Unreal Engine 5. Okay. Well, I guess UE4. Or sorry, I said 5. Rebirth ran on UE4. And you're saying the PS5 Pro version looks really good. That's true. That is true. Yeah, I think I remember Stellar Blade being Unreal Engine 4. Update. Grok says no engine information has been confirmed. Night Sky Prince just did a video on Square's trouble with personal engines. Well, I mean, sometimes I feel like it seems like we are going backwards a little bit. I won't lie. Only because like I feel like so many games come out, it's like there's just problems. And I feel like that's kind of normal. Like there's always some problems, but it just feels like it's been worse. I don't know. Where's Boss, by the way? It's a good question. Oh, he's over here. He's in this chair. I don't know if you can see it. See the camera. Got some. You got to believe me. He's right here. I'll show you his tail. He loves sleeping on this chair. It's like his favorite place to sleep. He likes sleeping on this chair more than he likes sleeping on his cat tower. Boss is not happy with the gifted memberships. No, but I did give him a couple treats because I just couldn't stand to be tortured. Not again. Oh, God. All right, boss, up here. Come on. Dude, he's so tired. He's looking at me like, is it treats yet? Do I get more treats? Like, no, dude. You already got some. Come on, come say hi. They've been asking for you. They've been asking for you, man. All right, he's just going to stare at me then. That's fine. Oh, okay. If I divert my attention, that's when he's like, wait, no. All right, boss, it's time for you to carry the stream. I've talked about everything I could. Go on. Talk to the audience. Entertain them. It's all you, bro. You got this. Anything? No. I wish I could be as content as a cat. I feel like cats can just sit there and just sit there, lay there. They don't care. Just like, "Hmm, say something, boss." I just joined the stream. Have you seen the new Yote gameplay? I watched clips of it. Yeah, it looks good. It looks good. I'm stoked. I don't really need to see anymore, to be honest. I just need them to release the game. Currently filming a Honda commercial, driving a vehicle while listening to MBG. Wait, what? Chris, you're filming a Honda commercial? Is this true? You're going to be in a Honda commercial? I don't know why I don't believe you. You know what movie I saw recently? Ow, dude, what? Did you just yawn and like chomp down on my thumb? You know what movie I just saw? I saw the movie Weapons. Who saw this movie? Did any of you see this? I'm the person you can't see driving the cars within the commercial. Really? Are you really, Chris? That's crazy. Are you serious? I feel like I can't tell if you're being serious. So like the next time I see a Honda commercial, I'm like, the dude who's driving that car in that commercial is on my streams. I had to put my cat on medicine yesterday, and he was big chilling on the couch with his tongue out for hours. Namazer says, I bet you didn't watch Enemy. Does Weapons live up? So, I won't spoil anything, right? But here's my thoughts when it comes to horror movies and thriller movies. Okay? I feel like when it comes to horror and thriller movies, it's with extremely rare exception that it usually only goes one of two ways. It usually only goes one of two ways. MVP Moss, like, I don't know why it took me like way longer than it should have for me to realize that you were referencing the movie when you said that, because I was literally about to ask you like, why are you getting a bowl of water? You drink water out of a bowl? Like, it's kind of weird. MBG, I swear that's what I'm doing right now. I'm not sure which one I'll be in, but yes, I am. That's awesome. I feel like when it comes to horror and thriller movies, really you have two options. Okay? It's either about the journey and not the end, or it's all about the payoff at the end, and the journey can suffer for it, and be sacrificed to a degree for that payoff. I feel like it's super rare that you get a movie, a horror movie or a thriller movie, that does both, that can have an incredible journey and that the building up to the final act is amazing, and then they pull it off with an incredible ending and the payoff is completely worth it. I'm not a filmmaker, obviously, nor am I a writer, but I feel like I've seen so many, horror movies and thriller movies that it's like, usually when you go into it, it's one or the other. I feel without, there will be zero spoilers because I know people haven't seen this movie, but I feel like with Weapons, in my opinion, some people might disagree, but in my opinion, this is one of those movies where it's about the ride. It's about the journey and not the destination. And the destination, while it wasn't bad, in my opinion, it wasn't bad. The final act wasn't bad. It's just, I found myself realizing, man, I liked the first two acts of the movie way better. And I'm okay with that. Like, I don't get upset about that anymore because I know it's really, really tough to pull that off. Wait, there's an original? Am I am, if that's true, I had no idea. Um so the rest of the movie outshines the ending, in my opinion. So there's like certain, yeah, like wait, this was a sequel? Hold on, I don't think so. Weapons is, I'm pretty sure it's original, right? I didn't hear anything about it being a sequel or remake or anything. Chris Brown, I think it was supposed. I thought that was kind of strange too, but that was supposed to be like a representation in his mind of like the kids being weapons, right? Like that's kind of, and then like in hit like that, you visually you see a weapon, you see like an assault rifle or whatever. But yeah, that was a really strange and interesting visual. But I'm just saying that like I don't think the ending of this movie was bad. You know what movie I struggled with a little bit was that movie Longlegs. Longlegs was a movie where I did enjoy the journey much more than the ending, but even that movie didn't really pull it off for me. Like that Longlegs was a movie where when I heard the praise it was getting, I was like, this is going to be incredible, dude. It's going to be like one of the best movies ever. And I just felt myself afterwards kind of like, well, it was okay. It was okay. It was good. Like it had good parts, but there was just something about it that didn't quite, I don't know. It just, what it was doing for some people or a lot of people just wasn't doing it for me. But yeah, man, I love horror and thriller movies. It's my favorite genre of movie. And there were certain scenes in Weapons in terms of like the way it was filmed, the camera work, so fucking good, dude. Like it's not often I pay. Well, I do. I don't know. I love film. Like I love movies, and I usually do pay attention to the way things are filmed. But I notice in Weapons, like there's just some cinematography in this movie that I'm like, this is sick, dude. Like it just looks so cool. The way they move the camera. I like Kubrick. Yeah. You consider Weapons a suspense thriller rather than horror? Yeah. And I don't think this is a spoiler, but can we talk about how like it gets, I want to ask you guys this for people who watched Weapons. And really quick, Novinzer screaming with a super chat. Novinzer is screaming and he says, watch Enemy. It has both of what you want. I won't lie. This entices me further, Novinzer. If what you say is true, that it achieves an incredible journey with a payoff ending, a truly good ending, a truly satisfactory ending. I might have to check this out. You said it was directed by the same person who did Prisoners, right? Because Prisoners was incredible. That was an incredible fucking movie. I mean, that movie, it's been a little while since I've seen it, but yeah, that to me, that was like a superb movie. The whole thing. Like, it was so good. I was like, man, I wish I could rewatch it, for the first time. But I wanted to ask you guys, I think I saw Barbarian as well. I liked Weapons better. I wanted to ask you guys, though, like, is it just me? Or did the final act in Weapons become very comedic? Right? Like, it's not just me, right? It's hard not to, I really don't want to spoil things, but I feel like it became very comedic, which I didn't have a problem with. I was just a little caught off guard by it. Where it's so hard to talk about it without spoiling it, but it just really went into a more comedic direction where I was, dude, like, when I saw it in the theater, there weren't that many people in the theater, but everybody was like laughing out loud like multiple times. And I was laughing out loud multiple times. And it was funny because what's interesting about it is like there was like almost no laughter for the whole movie. And then like in the final act, there's just numerous times where people are bursting out laughing. And it worked though. Like I think it worked. But I have my theory is I think I know why it did that. I was just like pondering this. I'm like, I think the director or the writers, I think that they knew that the ending is it's gonna struggle to have the best payoff that it can. It's hard to like. I don't want to spoil anything, but the way the movie's structured, it's like by the time you get to the final act, you kind of have almost not all the answers, but almost all the answers. And the movie decides it doesn't want to reveal everything, even when it finishes. It's not going to give you every single answer. And so in order to kind of like mitigate that lack of an extreme payoff, because it depends what you're looking for, it seemed to just like kind of lean into like, we're going to loosen up a little bit now and have a little bit of fun with it. And it's funny because it's like, that's what made the ending of it like a wild ride in and of itself. It was a unique movie. I was quite surprised. How much I enjoyed some of the things it did. MVP Moss, you're saying, I did research and found out Weapons had no deeper meaning to it, but you should watch Together next. I personally liked it better. That's it. So you're saying Weapons had no deeper meaning. I mean, there's a couple things I think I could maybe identify. I'm not sure. Like one of the things I noticed in Weapons is that all of the main characters in the movie like are just kind of, except for there's like a kid in the movie that's one of the main characters. But aside from the kid, like all the adult main characters are kind of fucked up. And I don't know that it's necessarily trying to say anything, but it's definitely a little bit of just a slight commentary on like, like all these people are kind of messed up and doing kind of messed up things. But then there's like a whole nother layer of like, well, if you think that's messed up, wait until you see this, and I don't think it's necessarily trying to say anything deeper, but that's crazy to me. Med. You're saying the director is one of the actors from that sketch show, The Whitest Kids You Know. I remember The Whitest Kids You Know. That's crazy. The director straight up said it didn't have any deeper meaning. I appreciate that. I feel like there's so many stories and so many movies these days that try to say something more when maybe it's not necessary. And I think, that makes sense to me too, because the way the movie ended, it's like, I'm not really sure what, considering how it ended, I'm not sure what the deeper meaning could be. If there was a deeper meaning, I feel like I definitely lost it by the time we get to the end. And yeah, I can have appreciation for that. I do appreciate movies though that keep me thinking sometimes though too. Like, what was it trying to say? There was this movie I saw very recently. Fuck. I don't know that. I can't remember the name of it. I'm not even going to try. I'm going to have to ask next time I do a stream. I'm going to have to ask Mrs. MBG if she remembers the name of the movie. We watched it at home, and it was a horror thriller movie. It was like way better than I expected it to be. I just wish I could remember the name of it. MBG, I'm doing drone video for a horror movie we're shooting in the Ozarks. I'll get back to you in a year when we finish. Good shit, dude. Now we're just like, watch Enemy. It'll have you thinking like crazy. I've never seen somebody so passionate about a movie, Namazer. It's amazing. You said there's another movie, Together. Let me see. Together. I've never seen this. Oh, this came out really recently. Came out July 30th this year. Rated R. Years into their relationship, Tim and Millie find themselves at a crossroads when they move to the countryside, abandoning all that is familiar in their lives except each other. With tensions already flaring, a nightmarish encounter with a mysterious, unnatural force threatens to corrupt their lives, their love, and their flesh. This is a sexy thriller, isn't it? That last line gave it away. What is it? It's got a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb, 82% like this movie. I might have to check this out. Novin's like, I'm going to kill you, MG. Oh, I don't know, Tarnished. I never really kept track. I would have to really think about it. It's been a long time since I've deadlifted. Nothing too crazy. I've never really got too deep into powerlifting. Now I was just like, bro, I'm unsubbing. I can't take this no more. Yeah, well, I love movies, but I really, really like horror and thriller movies. I think thrillers are probably my favorite. I think that's my favorite genre of movie. But I just love movies, you know? I'm like Kojima. I just love movies. I'm already starting to think about populating the Halloween month list and trying to negotiate to get her to watch them. Favorite horror movie? I'd have to. That's tough, man. I'd have to really. I've seen so many amazing horror movies over the years. I don't think I have any favorites, dude. I'll be honest. You know, like there's just like I saw like the new Conjuring movies coming up. And I'm like, oh yeah, dude, the Conjuring movies are great. Like they're not. I'm not saying it's my favorite, but it's just I love those movies. Shems, what's up, man? I mean, there's always like some classics. Like The Shining is obviously that's such a. I'm not gonna say it's my favorite, but I remember when I first watched The Shining, I was like, holy shit, the hype is real. You know, like Jack Nicholson's performance and just the fucking. I mean, that movie's so eerie on so many levels. It is truly like it's one of those movies where it's a classic and you see people, you hear people talk about it so much and you see it referenced over and over to the point where it's like, you know, and I was late to it and it's like, you're like, it's just overrated probably. And then you watch it and you're like, oh man. Okay. It is old. It's an old movie. The Ring. That's a good one. I'm dating myself with that movie. Well, like I said, I was late to it. I think it came out in 1980, right? The original. And there was that follow-up. What was the name of the movie? They made a sequel to it. Or it was his son. Ewan McGregor was in it. That was pretty good. Stephen King actually hated The Shining originally because it strayed so far from his book. Also, you should watch the new Running Man trailer. Speaking of Stephen King. Oh, yeah, they have a new Running Man. Yeah, horror movies are so great, dude. Dr. Sleep, thank you. Yeah, Dr. Sleep was pretty good. It wasn't as good as the original, obviously. It wasn't as good as The Shining, but it was better than I expected. House of a Thousand. I don't like that movie, dude. I saw that movie as a kid and it disturbed the shit out of me, and I just don't like it because of that. The Descent, that was a scary one. The Descent was a scary movie. I'm trying to think of a. You guys ever see that movie? Like, I just think of like these random movies I saw. Some like they're not the best or the scariest. Yeah, we were just talking about that. Shems Weapons. I was just talking about that movie. I enjoyed it. The first Saw is a classic. I remember. I saw this movie I think it's called Lights Out. That was pretty freaky. Not the best movie, but just a little freaky, you know. I gotta look now. I gotta like find a list. I've seen so many. List of horror movies. There's probably so many I still have yet to see. mean, you got the classics like Halloween. I saw Barbarian. People talk about Hereditary. I thought Hereditary was okay. People really like Hereditary. I liked it, but it's not like super high up to me. Oh, you know what movies I really like? The Insidious movies. Now, I think that they've like, I don't know. To be honest, I've enjoyed every Insidious movie. I've seen all the Insidious movies. I think they're great. I think I like those ones so much because they talk about like the astral plane and shit. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so freaky. Late Night with the Devil. I saw that. That was good. That was good. You know who really likes that movie? Mrs. MBG. She loves that. She was just talking about that movie the other day. Got the Evil Dead movies, Cabin in the Woods. Mrs. MBG loves that one. I've seen this movie pop up numerous times. I never saw it. It's called It Follows. Talk to Me. That was a good movie. Fear Street Prom Queen. I watched that. That was a silly movie, but I appreciated it. It wasn't taking itself too seriously. House of Wax. That's an old one, dude. 2005. I remember watching that. House of Wax. Yeah, top horror movie picks. Getaway. Woman in the Yard. 2025. That looks kind of scary. Daddy's Head. What? Yo, what is this horror movie called Daddy's Head? I don't like the title. It's not often I see a title of a movie that I don't like, and I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like the title of that movie. That's something's not quite right there. Woman in the Yard was all right. That's literally what it's called, Tarnished. I'm not even kidding. Unless I read it wrong. Nope, that's what it's called. There's another one, Presence. Baghead is another name of a movie. These are the top horror movie picks, apparently. Baghead. Popeye the Sailor Man? What the fuck is... What? When Evil Lurks. Lights Out. I just mentioned that one. That's in one of the top picks. They got Silent Hill. Oh, Black Phone was a good one. They're making a sequel to that. Did you guys see they're making a sequel to Black Phone? The Babadook. Oh, that was a good one too. Raised like Human Centipede Man. Creep Show. Sinister. The first Sinister movie was really good, actually. And I heard the sequel was trash. I didn't even watch the sequel, but the first Sinister movie was really good. They got Annabelle, 28 Days Later, Gremlins, The Descent. So many good ones. Let's see. Final Destination movies, Jeepers Creepers, Unfriend. Viral. Some of these movies I feel like I may have seen. There's so many. Dawn of the Dead. If you like The Last of Us. Oh, here's one. It says if you like The Last of Us, a movie called Die Alone, which came out in 2024. Did anybody see this movie called Die Alone? I actually watched this with Mrs. MBG. This was pretty good. It was lower budget, but it was pretty good. Wrong Turn. It sounds familiar. I don't know if I've ever seen it, though. You got The Descent 1 and 2 on DVD. Somebody mentions When Evil Lurks. I just saw that pop up. You know what? You know movies I haven't seen? Jesus. You know movies I haven't seen, but I need to see. I heard they're really good. The Quiet Place movies. I'm surprised I haven't seen them yet. But got to get on that eventually. So it was good to have a little bit of movie talk. I've clearly run out of gaming topics. Day of the Dead is peak George A. Romero. Peak zombie movie generally, really. Hamager says, watch Enemy before any of those. How does everyone here know these movies but seldom know Stephen King / Joe Hill? Have you seen The Game? I don't think so, no. The Game. This 1997 movie, Michael Douglas. No, I have not seen The Game. The Hills Have Eyes. Oh, I remember that one. The Game is super old. The Cube. That sounds familiar. We have MVP Moss with the $2 chat. He says, did you like Get Out and Us? I like the deeper meanings. I actually haven't seen these movies yet. Shockingly. I haven't seen them yet. I've heard nothing but good things. Now I'm going to have MVP Moss this whole time be like, bro, you got to watch it. He's the next Novinzer. You know what's interesting? I've seen so many clips of these movies. I feel like I've seen them, but I actually haven't seen them yet. No, I might watch it at some point. That I've actually seen, The Autopsy of Jane Doe. That was a good one. That was surprisingly good. The Exorcist is a classic. Watch Cure. Surreal horror thriller. I feel like 7, you'll love it. Is it not in English? Maybe it is. Let me see. Cure. Oh, it's got a 94%. This came out 2001. It's a Japanese neo-noir psychological horror film. Damn, dude. It sounds good. It's got a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. Watch with subtitles. 7 was an amazing thriller. Yeah, 7's incredible. If you like thrillers, you got to watch The Game. I mean, a 1997 thriller starring Michael Douglas. I'll have to check it out at some point. I just don't really seek movies out anymore. That's the thing. I just kind of see what comes up, and I'm like, all right, I'll check it out, maybe. I don't remember if I've seen Day of the Dead. I feel like I did. Jerusalem is good, but you have to suspend your disbelief. Novinger says The Game is not good. Don't watch it. So, MVG, is horror movie your genre preference? Horror and thriller. Yeah, I like action movies too. And I just think as I've gotten older, I've definitely leaned more into horror and thriller. 7 is tame nowadays. I've seen so many random movies. There's so many movies I've seen that I don't know the names of. I've just watched them on like Netflix or whatever, you know, and some of them I can remember like scenes and they were pretty good, but I just can't remember the names. No, I'm not. No, thanks, Titus. Pushing Polygon says, isn't that the whole point of the movie, to suspend your disbelief? Terrifier. I've seen parts of that. That's like really gory, right? As above, so below. I've heard of that. Never saw it. Shems is like, no way, man. No way. Oh, God. Ooh. Why do I feel so tired, though? I'm like just thrown off. I'm thrown off a little bit because I started an hour later than normal, and It feels like I've been streaming for nearly 4 hours, but I haven't. I've seen the Texas Chainsaw. I've seen a few of the Texas Chainsaw movies. They always freak me out. You like the gore movies? At one point, you wanted to go to special effects school for prosthetic and robotics, but now everything is CGI. That's true. Day of the Dead has smart zombies, which is kind of cool. They sort of built on it with Land of the Dead. Dude, I'm telling you, I feel like, isn't there like one of these movies where like one of them like picks up a gun or some shit and is like, ooh. He like figures out how to use the gun or something. I may be thinking of a completely wrong movie, but seen The Exorcist when you were 15 years old, had nightmares for weeks. The original Exorcist fucked a lot of people up. Yeah. That's Day of the Dead. Okay, I did see it then. Haven't seen Sinners yet. Oh my God, I do not collect movies, but I do have some discs and VHS tapes. That's crazy. Dude, VHS tapes are crazy. VHS tapes are crazy, bro. An Outlast movie? Yeah, that would be an Outlast movie would be disturbing. Garrett, you said you saw Sinners last night. It was decent. That was a zombie Bubba with a gun. Do not watch Sinners. Terrible movie. I feel like Namadzer's desperation to get me to watch Enemy is turning him into a hater. Well, you know what? I always like the movie theater. It's hard to go anymore, man. You know, like not only is it just like super expensive, but yeah, just to find the time to go. But I've always loved going to the movie theater. It's one of my favorite things ever. But yeah, I don't know. I think that movie Weapons was really good, and it was nice to go to the movies and be in the theater again. It's been too long. Also, has one of the most sadistic villains in film history. MBG, my wife and I thought about collecting some laser discs. It's the last place you can get an unaltered version of Star Wars. That's crazy. That is crazy, dude. Capono says you should treat yourself every now and again, bro. I try to. Yeah, Shems, I was just talking about that, bro. I was talking about how it feels like the third act of the movie just had a steady ramp up in comedy, which is it's like antithetical to like pretty much everything that came before it, but it's such a fascinating approach to a thriller, like to kind of go from dead serious and really just the whole time kind of keeping that tension, keeping the tension, and then kind of releasing that tension through, you know, a bit of comedy. This isn't a spoiler because if you didn't see it, you won't know what I'm talking about. But dude, that scene when the guy, you know which guy I'm talking about, like the druggy dude, just kept getting up and attacking them. I don't want to say who the characters are, but you know, he just kept getting up and attacking. He kept punching him, and every time he thought it was done, he just kept getting up again and again and again and again. And then he just got tired of it and like picked his ass up and just fucking like threw him across the room. That was some funny shit, dude. Yeah, the people were laughing, man. Sorry I'm late, but what are your thoughts on the Moore's Law is Dead PS6 handheld? I'm going to be honest, Butcher, I'm definitely not going to be able to I can't even give you a quick recap. We talked about it so in depth. What I'll recommend is if you're really interested in knowing my thoughts on a deeper level, when this stream wraps up and Devil Shooter does the timestamps, come back and check them out because we talked about it for like 2 hours straight practically. But I definitely have thoughts, I'll tell you that. If Resident Evil 6 is World War Z, Resident Evil 7 is Night of the Living Dead / OG Texas Chainsaw. Yo, did anybody watch that World War Z movie with Ice Cube? I saw somebody mention that earlier. This movie has gone down in history as like one of the worst movies ever made, apparently. It's just like a total meme. Yeah, sorry, Butcher. I would recap it if there wasn't if I could be cohesive with it. It was garbage. Dude, the clips that I've seen are just like I'm just like genuinely like, wait, this is a real movie? The worst acting I've seen. God damn, dude. I mean, I feel like that's kind of special in a way, though. Like when you achieve making a movie so bad it's good, like it's just funny to watch because it's that bad. You know, succeeding for all the wrong reasons. You got Hostel 1 to 3 on DVD. Oh, I remember those movies. Those are like really gory too. Oh yeah, War of the Worlds. Sorry, what was I saying? World War Z? My bad. Shit. Yeah, two completely different. War of the Worlds with Ice Cube. World War Z, I read the book. Great book. Amazing book. Movie was okay. Not that. It was okay. The movie with Brad Pitt was okay. But yeah, I meant War of the Worlds. My bad. Electric Cat, you're hyped for Yote. I got high and watched it, and even that didn't help. Oh, man, that's when you know it's bad. That's when you know it's bad. I got to get high to even attempt to watch this movie, and it's still shit. That's crazy. Oh, yeah, the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds. I remember that. Yeah, I remember like the early 2000s, like Aliens was like a big thing. You know, there's that one movie with Mel Gibson. What was it called? I forget the name of that movie too. I forget the names of movies. I'm bad with names, dude. That's the problem. I'm bad with names. I had World War II levels of PTSD. Holy shit. That's pretty bad. Signs. Yeah. Mad Max. How about it's like Signs, bro? It's Signs. I've seen parts of Signs. I don't think I ever sat down and watched the whole thing, though. Oh, The Sixth Sense is a classic. Yeah. Lost Eyes is like Chicken Little. Yo, Chicken Little gave me PTSD. Signs is a top 5. Really? You like it that much, Garrett? It's top 5. Holy shit, that's some high praise. Imagine in The Last of Us TV universe, 9/11 in 2001, and 2 years later, the world ends. Even our timeline isn't that shitty. Not yet. Dude, what timeline are we on, dude? Like, oh my God. I'm struggling to like stay on social media, bro. I don't know why I'm there. It's so bad. It's so fucking bad. The first descent was scary, no joke. Well, I'm always keeping an eye out for some upcoming horror movies. I think the next one, I'm gonna try. I don't know if I'll be able to, but I want to try to make it to the movie theater to watch the last Conjuring movie that they're about to release. I don't know if it'll be good or not, but I've seen all the others. Deep Blue Sea or Jaws. Mrs. MBG loves Jaws. I grew up with Deep Blue Sea. That movie was crazy. Am I a Marvel or DC guy? I feel like I've always leaned more on the side of DC. I just liked DC things a little bit more, but I've changed. I mean, I've always liked Wolverine though, and the X-Men and Spider-Man. But I think I like DC a little bit more ultimately. But Wolverine's up there for me. Like, I don't know. DC and Wolverine are like, but I don't like all of DC though. Like that's the thing. Like for me it's like Batman, I like Superman. Um Always like Green Lantern. Joker obviously. Bane. Well, yeah, Jaws is the winner. I'm just Jaws is the winner. I'm just saying Deep Blue Sea for me was like what I grew up seeing. And I just remember that scene of Samuel L. Jackson getting eaten. And I remember it freaked me out a little bit. I'm like, oh shit. Like, what's going on, man? Oh, Safe Room. Yeah, I feel like I remember that one a little bit. Safe Room. That's why does it say I have two mic inputs? The hell is going on? This is Jodie Foster, right? Or Panic Room. Is that what it's called? Panic Room? Yeah. I've seen parts of that too. Yote firearm trailer today. Jodie Foster and Hard Leto. Who's Hard Leto, bro? Butcher says he hated Safe Room. Trash. Forrest Whitaker, I remember him in it, yeah. I remember there was like a time where Forrest Whitaker was in like everything, dude. You couldn't watch a movie without that dude showing up. Hard Leto. Jared Leto. Not the biggest fan of Jared Leto. He's okay. That reminds me, what was it? There was this dude. Okay, there was this movie I saw, and I believe I saw it on Netflix. And I'm curious if any of you guys have seen it because I don't know why I'm thinking of Jared Leto is not in this movie. I'm getting things confused. No, there was this movie I saw with Jared Leto, and there was another actor in it. It was a really well-known actor. Um, Fucking A. This is what I mean, where I just see these movies and I don't remember the names of the movies. Sometimes I can't even remember all the actors that were in it. Um, I think Denzel Washington was in it. I'm pretty sure I think it was, yeah, Denzel Washington and Jared Leto, and I forget the name of it. Um, and I saw that. I think it was on like Netflix. Rami Malek, yeah. And that was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed that. That was a nice thriller. I just can't remember the name of it. I don't know if anybody here can. Um, The Little Things. Is that what it's called? The Little Things? That was a good movie. I enjoyed that. Yeah. Thank you. But there was this other movie, and I think I can actually remember the name of this movie. This was a little bit of a thriller, but it was a weird movie. It was called Dragged Across Concrete, and it starred Mel Gibson and fuck, what's his name? This is what I mean. I can't remember names. Vince Vaughn. It'll just takes a couple seconds. And this movie was weird, dude. I don't know what it was about this movie. It was like paced. Yeah, it sounds like a Mel Gibson movie. It was paced. I think Mel Gibson directed it, right? Like it had this kind of strange pacing to it. But it was cool to see like Vince Vaughn playing I think Vince Vaughn has actually turned into like a really good actor apparently, but seeing him in a very serious role, playing like I don't know if like a crooked, I guess a kind of crooked cop, but just existing in this gray area with Mel Gibson. It was an interesting movie. It was an interesting one. Pacing's a little bit slow, but that was a fascinating one. I got to see True Detective. I heard the True Detective series is really, really like S tier. Um, every time I think of Vince Vaughn, though, the first thing I think of is Dodgeball. But he's a really good actor. Um, did you guys hear that apparently they're considering Nicolas Cage for season 5 of True Detective? I've never seen that pushing polygons. You know what I saw trending on Twitter recently was the ending of that movie that Mel Gibson directed called what Apocalypto, I think is what it's called. And the ending, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a bit of a spoiler, but like they make it to the shoreline and you see like the Spanish ships on like the coastline or whatever, like approaching. That I've seen most. I don't think I sat down and watched the entirety of Apocalypto, but I've seen so much of it. It's like one of the. I'm sure you have those movies, where you've seen like 80 to 90% of the movie, but there's just like a couple sections of it you missed. Um, that was a crazy. Like what I saw of that was pretty crazy. Um, do I think they'll make a Metal Gear Solid movie with Jordan Vogt-Roberts? They've been talking about it for years, but I don't know if it's ever going to get off the ground, man. I mean, I would be very, very, very scared about a Metal Gear Solid movie. I'll be honest. Like, I would be terrified. Where it's like, I will not forgive you if you fuck this up. In fact, I'm so afraid you're going to fuck it up. Don't even bother. Yeah, they like said Oscar Isaac was going to play Snake, but that seems like a movie that's in like production hell or whatever. It's not even in production yet. I don't think it's going to get off the ground. Do you remember that horror movie about this house that murders, but just can't remember? It's a house that murders. I mean, I feel like I've heard about. I feel like I've watched a movie with a plot line like that. I don't think I could remember. Sony Pictures is still making the MGS movie. Got to say, I don't have a lot of faith in them. Monster House. Yo, did Chaos Theory immediately know what it was? Monster House. Oh, Lost Isley too. Wait, isn't that the That's the animated movie, right? Oh, Monster House. Yeah, that's a good one. I don't think that's the one Lady Gamer's talking about though. I just don't think I could see Oscar Isaac as Snake after seeing that horrible Star Trek Discovery. Oh man. I mean, I remember Kojima many times before said that he thinks like, I mean, Viggo Mortensen is too old now, but Viggo Mortensen would have played it perfect Snake. Christian Bale, I think, said he wanted to play Snake. Um, I mean, yeah, that'd be Viggo Mortensen would have been the perfect Snake in like his prime. He would have been the perfect Snake. I agree with Kojima. He's got it all. He's got the voice. He's got the demeanor. He's got the look. Viggo Mortensen's a fucking incredible actor. Actually, what's he doing these days? He's 66 years old. He's getting up there. What's he up to? Wasn't there like a rumor that they're gonna bring him back or something as Aragorn? Oh, he was in that movie Captain Fantastic. I saw that movie. That was a good one. That was a good one. Um, I don't think he has anything coming up. I feel like he kind of like low key may have. I don't know if he retired from acting, but it seems like he maybe is on a hiatus or something because it says the last movie he was in was a 2023 film called The Dead Don't Hurt, and nothing since then. Hmm. Such a good actor. They should bring him in as a Big Boss. There you go. Kevin Hart would make the perfect Snake. Oh, jeez. Well, guys, we're about to hit the 3 hour mark, and I did get off to a late start today, so I think this might be a good place to wrap up the stream. I mean, this is basically just turned into a low key non-members members lounge. I probably should have just made this a members lounge, um, but yeah, it's been a really, really slow week, slow end to the month. We'll see what happens. We still got a couple more days But I've completely, obviously, run out of gaming topics to talk about. So, yeah, Garrett's like, I saw somebody mention Kevin Hart. I'm out, bro. But yeah, this is going to be a good place to wrap it up. I want to give a big thank you to everybody who tuned in today and hung out with me, talked games, talked a little bit of movies. Also, want to give a big thank you to anybody who dropped any support. If you dropped membership gifts, super chats, direct donations, I can only do what I do here because you guys make it possible. So thank you so much for the support. And I also want to make sure to give a shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps for the streams. So if you guys see him in the comments with those timestamps, give him some thanks, show him some love. I know he appreciates it. And yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up today. So, Butcher, the best thing to do, I would say, is come back to the stream after maybe about an hour, maybe 2 hours after it wraps up. Just give it a little bit of time. The timestamp should be up, and you'll be able to kind of like navigate and get all the sections where I talk about the handheld. All right. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day, evening, or night, and I will catch you in the next one. So until next time, take care, everyone.